Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 86, where we will cover Winter's Heart chapters 6 through 9. I am your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my tea-loving friends Jody.
Guten Morgen.
And Willie.
Oh, I do like myself the amber tea liquid with the foamy bubbles on the top. I drink it often. Some might say I'm a connoisseur of tea.
Yes.
I was telling T-Bone about this, how we used to call beers teas. So like whenever we used to say when we were young and irresponsible, we're going to go for a couple teas. T-Bone was talking about having actual cups of tea with someone saying we're going to have a couple of teas, and it just sent me into a fit of laughter because I was imagining them just getting hammered in the middle of the day.
I still say I'm going to have a tea. I love it. Yeah. And especially it's fitting here because the Aussies all say, oh, what are you having for tea tonight? They refer to dinner. And I mean, the fuck calls tea dinner? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, I'm having tea for sure.
Jody, do you remember your reaction last episode when we when we said which chapters we would be covering? You don't?
Yeah. What, on the podcast or when you sent it in the chat?
The scent of madness.
On the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What about it?
When we said the final chapter is called A Cup of Tea, you went, oh, no, I don't want anything to do with that because of forkrooted memories. And then I said, yeah, it could just be two powerful women, having a cup of tea, having a very important conversation. Nope, Jody was bang on target. The minty aftertaste of forkrooted will be gracing our podcast this evening.
Minty tea.
I'm always right.
Made me think, why is no one ever, checking tea? You can channel, just, check the tea somehow. Smell it. It's got a minty... Elayne was so distracted, but I won't get into the chapter. It's just
Yeah, you're stealing Willie's chapter already.
I'm sitting here with a loaded gun waiting because this is just standard now. We get into it and everyone just dive bombs into my chapters and start spoiling the plot. And it's as if this is a spoiler cast. Spoil my day cast.
I know. Anathema. Okay, so before I spoil everything for everyone, let's keep this episode intact and first look backwards in everybody's favorite section called Callbacks. Now, with music. I listened to the last episode after it published, and I think only about 30 people had downloaded the episode at that point, but I realized that I had the little jingle for callbacks muted in the Audacity project. So the episode released with no music playing, just a long pause for those first 30 odd listeners.
You don't need it because everybody's little head, it's
true.
in everyone's head. It lives there rent-free forever.
It's still looping around in my head right now. Okay, so our first real callback is, where did Eamon Valde take the White Cloaks when they left the Fortress of the Light?
The church.
Two admirable guesses, but no. Apparently, he took them to go deal with the Prophet in Gildan. So that was the mission that he emptied the Fortress of the Light for, and basically made it available for the Seanchan to just occupy. The Heroes of Might and Magic equivalent of leaving no troops in your castle and letting the enemy hero just walk straight into it.
Did he get lost on the way? We're going to go to Gildan, but went to the Mountains of Mist instead. Long way around.
They're all, the Mountains of the Mist, don't they border Gildan as well?
Yeah, the southern tip of them. Let me check my map.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, they start just north of Amador. Of Amadisia, sorry.
Yes.
Amador. Yeah, Amador's a city. God damn it, it's always...
I keep doing that myself, don't worry. I'm not going to ping you for that.
That's right.
Amador
so
sounds
probably
better.
Going up the foot. Okay, I see that out north and north and
also,
east.
Bulwer is hearing reports of them being in the area, engaging with Seanchan and retreating and managing to get the troops off the battlefield and stuff. So, Perrin's little force that's missioning around here is like between the Seanchan and the Shido and the White Cloaks. Like there's a lot of activity here. And only within a couple days' ride of each other, right? Like I think Ball's last report, setting myself up for a callback, was that they were like 10 days' ride away or something like that, the White Cloaks.
Those are like 3 of Perrin's favorite groups. And then with him, he's got the Madman and his minute entourage that he's taken with.
Which has killed like winged guards and stuff like a couple hours outside of Perrin's very camp. Like these Dragonsworn have actually killed some of his own men. So yeah, not a great situation for Perrin to be in. We also asked, when does Tuon arrive in Randland? And the answer is, right now. We meet her in Winter's Heart in Ibudar when Matt is there.
Because she's in disguise, isn't she? She's like, not even the Seanchan know that she's
there. She's not the
low.
Empress yet, which is important.
Okay.
The Empress back in Siandar in Seanchan is still alive at this point, and Tuon has been sent ahead. Easy. And Tuon was sent ahead. So it's only when Semirhage kills the royal family back in Seanchan and news makes it all the way back to Randland that Tuon becomes the Empress. So the commoners that we spoke about in Tarabon that are swearing an oath to an Empress across the sea, we were sort of laughing going, maybe it's just because that's what the oath always says, but, Tuon is here. No, actually, the Empress that they're swearing the oath to at this point is actually still across the sea in Seanchan. We cleared up the Bane versus Chiad confusion around who it is that Gaul is into. And yes, it is Chiad, but we also asked what happens to them after the Shido are killed. That Bane and Chiad were taken Guy Shane. And we were saying, so when we kill the Shido, what happens? And according to the fandom wiki, Chiad actually serves Gaul as Guy Shane for the remainder of her term. Awkward.
No.
I love you. Watch my back. Vil, you said you didn't have to wait for Winter's Heart, and isn't that because someone bought you book 9 as your first Wheel of Time book? Is that what you said in one of the episodes?
Yeah, Winter's Heart was the first one I got, which was a book that my mate's mom bought for him, and he was like, nah, not interested in this. And I was like,
that's
cool,
it.
I'll take that. And then I was like, okay, cool, you don't start at like the 9th book.
No,
skip the first 8. I should probably start with the first one.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, this book 9 is historically significant to all of us. This is the first. This book I found in a secondhand shop when I was living in. I don't remember where I was living. Not South Africa, and I bought
under
it there,
a bridge.
And I read it when we lived together.
Yes, I remember that.
You, me, and Jethro.
Uh-huh.
And I also saw it in a hotel lobby. Some guy sitting in a hotel lobby reading this book, and I wanted to go up and start a conversation, but I was too scared.
There's always that temptation when you spot a book out in the wild.
Spoilers. It's like,
so,
book
have you by any chance read this series before, and this is your second or third time through? Can we talk spoilers?
In hindsight, everyone's read this series more than once, so it wouldn't have been spoilers.
We all know, as this podcast can prove, beyond any shadow of a doubt, it is the way to read the series is multiple times.
Yeah.
Jody, can you pronounce the name of Perrin's power-wrought hammer? It's
Mjolnir.
I mean, that's what it's derived from, but it's Ma'alinir? Something like that.
I don't know. I have to see it written. Where was I supposed to see this written and know what it's called?
I don't know. You have a t-shirt with Perrin wielding the hammer. It's also your banner on Facebook and stuff. Like I know that you specifically like Perrin and his hammer and that depiction of them.
You both pronounced it incorrect. Come on.
What is it?
Called Malnair.
Malnair.
I thought you were going to say it's called Menir.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look it up.
The reason we spoke about it is because I was saying that when Perrin smashes Roland's head in with a hammer, it is the blacksmith hammer from Tyr and not his power-wrought weapon. Perrin only forges that hammer in chapter 40 of The Towers of Midnight, book 14, the penultimate book. So 2 full books after Faile's rescue from Malden.
Just in time for the last battle.
Yes.
Smash some Trollocs.
Vinny, we did talk then about Perrin throwing the axe away, which we all said was happening in this book. And I think, Jody, you had said that it happens immediately after Perrin uses it to chop that Aiel's hand off. And I was talking about how they chop it off and heal it again and chop it off and heal it again. But Villy, you were actually spot on. I don't know where I came up with that narrative. That's me making stuff up again. And Villy was right when he said that the threat that they give the Aiel in that specific scenario was to chop off their hands and feet and to leave them in a town as a beggar with no hands and feet, the ultimate dishonor. The funny little thing that I read about specifically that scene is before Perrin arrives to actually do the heavy torture with the axe and the limb severing, the person, quote unquote, questioning the Shido captives is Harry, the little ear slicer of the prophet. So at this point, I mean, obviously a lot of stuff will transpire between here and that specific point, but I feel a bit disappointed in Perrin that he would task that person with a job like that, almost condoning his ways, like, I don't know, it's kind of gross.
He goes down a dark path.
Yeah, he's disgusted in himself. That's why he throws the axe and stuff away as well. He throws it into that tree and he leaves it there. Alejandre asks what the Shido could mean by cooking as a threat, and Morghese answers that she heard questioners sometimes turn people on a spit as torture. I think this is true, and that she's only heard it. Like, so what I mean when I say I think this is true is that when she says I heard someone say that, we don't actually know what torture was performed on Morghese, because I think she only spent like an hour with Asunawa. Like when she laments the fact that she broke so quickly. And then was sort of given over to Valda, and then Valda sort of, sexually abuses her. But the actual torture that Asunawa applied to her for that hour was never mentioned. But I can't imagine that he went straight to putting her on a spit over a fire, right? Like that sort of thing would leave irreparable damage.
Yeah.
So
let's start with the spitting.
If you take a person for a wander, to the dungeons of the Fortress of Light, in question marks.
Yes.
And you pass like this bronze peak statue with wailing sounds of people inside of it cooking alive with a fire underneath it. You often get people just to splurt out everything in hopes that they don't get put into the cauldron, so to say. So, I mean, for me, that is probably true. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
It could even have been like an offhanded comment, like, I wouldn't want to go straight to the spit. Let me use these implements and stuff first, right? Like, I think it's very plausible that any insight Morghese has into what torture methods are used by the White Cloaks were, or was garnered during that time that she was actively subjected to them.
Well, also, she was the Queen of Andor for a very long time. She's privy to a lot of reports, and
that's true. That's true.
She's probably knows a lot about the White Cloaks and their methods.
Yeah,
there was a period when she was queen where they sent out sort of like they were selling their services and said, look, if you have any dark friends that need torturing, this is what we can do for you at a small cost to the crown.
Observe.
Just we
like
have
so.
You get a flyer in her postbox. Got any dark friends who need him torturing? Yeah.
Okay, let's move on from torture to the Black Archer. In the Lord of Chaos prologue, so that's book 6, we are told explicitly from Catherine Elrudin's perspective that Galena has been a Black Archer member for far longer than Catherine's 12 years. So Jody, you were right. Villy and I were going, I don't know that the readers have really been told that she's Black Archer. Yep, straight up for a long time in the beginning of book 6.
Sweet.
The binding rod in the tower bears the number 3, and the one that Tharava has the number 111.
Yo.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of those binding rods around. Well, there were.
Or maybe it's Roman numerals for 3.
We've had this exact conversation. People in the Age of Legends were not Roman, so. But maybe like
I don't
RJ
recall that
subconsciously.
conversation at all.
This does not surprise me.
And I know it's recorded, so it has to be true. I believe you, but I just don't remember it.
Speaking of the Oath Rod, Faile finally gets her hands on that Oath Rod from Thorava in chapter 5 of book 11. So even though the plan is introduced here, remember I was saying, like, I can't believe how quickly Galena has asked them to do exactly this Oath Rod thing, you know, but it's stretched out until book 11. It's only at that point that they get it. Galena herself only gets her hands on the Oath Rod during her betrayal of Faile later in that book, like over halfway. And then sticking with Faile, we asked, how long is this chase, right? Like, how long is Perrin chasing after Faile? Do you guys want to take a guess? I've got a number of days here.
Okay, I'm going to tell you it's 37 days.
Interesting, Billy.
7,628 days.
You're both so close. No, it is 55 days between the kidnapping and the Battle of Malden.
Okay. So 7,000 is correct. Closest number.
Feels like 7,000 is only 55.
Factually closer to my number, but
it's emotionally closer to Billy's.
Emotionally closer.
If we break it down into podcast days and duration, it's going to be 700 and something days till we get there.
But how long is it in dog years?
Dog years is
Times
going
7.
to be 42,010.
Excellent. You have passed the test.
Are wolf years the same as dog years?
No, they get one extra year because they're just a higher level of predator. So dog is 7, so they 8.
All right.
Okay.
I think. I mean, I've never met a wolf, but you have.
Jody
You
has.
went to the wolf sanctuary. Did you not ask them?
I forgot to ask this pertinent question from that guide. What a fool. I have to go again.
Speaking of fools, the ages of Savannah and Somarin and Thorava. Okay, I shouldn't call Thorava a fool, or Somarin for that matter. Savannah, certainly a fool. Their ages are never stated outright, but there are a couple of telltale signs. Thorava has dark red hair with streaks of white and deep blue eyes. She's taller than most men, slim and hawk-faced. She's a strong channeler, so likely slowed aging makes her like quite old. If she's got streaks of white in her hair and she has not, sworn on any oath rod, so she's aging like the kin, she would be pretty fucking old. Savannah, I can't get a feel for her current age, but we know that
She's a youngster.
As a youngster, she married Suladric, the clan chief of the Shido. I think she was 16 or something. Like, she was really young, but already super ambitious. So we know that about her. And then when Suladric died, she obviously was, his brother was Couladin. And she was sort of like
And then she
propping
married
him up.
Couladin.
So if they were on the slopes of Dragon Mount on the slopes beside Ruidian, when those guys rock up, that must be when Suladric would have died shortly before that. And that's why Couladin wanted to go into Ruidian to become clan chief. But the missing element there is, how long was Savannah married to Suladric, and how long did he run the Shido as clan chief with Savannah at his side before passing away?
Well, he went to get his sort of tick box mark as clan chief by going into Ruidian, right? And he was the one that scratched his own eyes out.
That's right. So he wasn't even clan chief.
So let's say they were married for a couple of years and their Shido clan dog died. Then he would have been next in line. So he might have been in his 40s. So, and she being a young. So I don't put
She's
her
still young.
age and her, and this is sort of just wild speculation like we do all the time, but she acts like a very not a long-lived person with a lot of wisdom.
No.
So I don't think that she's much older than Elayne.
Yeah, like you're right. Like, her behavior certainly doesn't make you feel like she's wise, or like wise with years, right? She is kind of impetuous and self-involved, and it actually kind of, if you think of her as still quite young, it actually reinforces some of her behavior. I can say as a very old man with
It's
grey hair.
grey. See, we all have streaks of grey in our hair. We're very wise already, considering that we can channel and all that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I put her in like late 20s. I don't think she's over 30 years old.
No. I'm sort of thinking
But
like mid 20s.
but not Nynaeve and Elayne age, like older than them.
No. Somerin is her description on the fandom wiki is she is well endowed, shows even more cleavage than Savannah, and is very tall, 6'4". She has very long sandy yellow hair and is very attractive. She is very strong in the one power. Indeed, she credits herself with never having met a woman who is stronger. That was until she met Grandal. Nevertheless, it means that Somerin is in the top 10 of the strongest female channelers in the world, at the same level as some of the Forsaken. So, yeah. No joke.
That means she's also probably really old as well, keeping that beauty, not aging because of her ability.
Well, yeah, she's older than she looks, definitely.
Yes, but not
I don't
necessarily
think she's-
very old.
Yeah, like no grey streaks mentioned in that sandy hair.
No. Okay. And then sticking with the Aiel, Gaul leading the maidens in the hunt for the Shido kidnappers is 100% against custom. We were asking last time, I think, Willie, you said maybe there is sort of like a precedent for a specific scenario in which the maidens would let a lone stone dog or whatever Gaul's society is, lead a search party. But I don't think there is. I couldn't find any evidence of it, and sort of everything that you read about that situation kind of makes it stick out like this is weird, right? Like for Gaul to be leading the maidens is odd. And I think that is done on purpose because it is not normal.
Unless. The same way the maidens got the right to beat up Rand by playing rock, paper, scissors, or what's it? Stone, stick, and knife, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, who's leading this? We all have a toe in this. So he drew the short straw or the long straw or played rock the right amount of times. And he's like...
I think that's a position you'd want. I think he didn't draw the short straw. Or the way that we use that saying anyway, I think he came out on top to be able to lead that party.
Canon.
Okay. Canon. All right, then we have one listener contribution from Mr. Dependable Ian Yellen, who sends in the following. You guys all mentioned that the wisdom and the age-based hierarchy of the kin was better than the power-based hierarchy of the Aes Sedai, but most of the good changes in the current Aes Sedai is because of the young and powerful. The old and the quote-unquote wise are stuck in their tradition. It's because of people like Elayne, Egwene, and Nynaeve that the Aes Sedai even realize that the Aiel and Seafolk have channelers. A whole bunch of lost talents are being rediscovered, and new weaves are being discovered. I mean, that's true. And I guess they wouldn't have had
God
the opportunity to... yeah, with your logic and your sense.
Coming here with your good points.
They wouldn't have had the opportunity to show a lot of that stuff off if they were made to just be quiet and sit in the corner and listen to their elders the whole time.
Keep scrubbing pots. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah. Let's still be scrubbing pots.
Ian also says, I think maybe some of the other reasons people have always referred to the slog is that, one, when they came out, the internet community wasn't as prolific, and so no one could keep up with all the names RJ, threw at us. And number two, the Eye of the World through the Lord of Chaos takes place in 2 years, but Crown of Swords through to Memory of Light, which is 8 books, covers less than a year. I didn't fact check that, but that sounds plausible as a reason for why people would call it the slog. We know from personal experience and what patchy memories we have that, after the events of book 10, I think book 11 goes back to sort of like a same sort of starting point chronologically as book 10. Like, there's so many characters being tracked. Even if it isn't a whole book, there's huge overlap between them on the timeline. So thank you for that, Ian. We can now move ahead to previously on Blood and Ashes. We join Perrin and his small entourage as they leave the meeting with the Prophet. Elias and the Aes Sedai think Masema should be killed, but Perrin asks them to at least leave the town in which they are surrounded by Dragonsworn before talking like that. Bulwer also gives Perrin some info regarding a battle between the Seanchan and some channelers in the south, as well as the fact that Valda and his White Cloaks have engaged in battle but retreated somewhere. But all Perrin can think about is getting back to camp and Faile. When they do get there, they find the camp in disarray as Alejandro's men turn their anger at the kidnapping toward the Aiel traveling with Perrin. Perrin calms the situation down, but is far from calm himself. He wants to rush out and find Faile, but Berylaine and Elias counsel against haste. There are many Shido about, and stumbling into them can be disastrous. When Perrin sends Arganda away with orders, Berylaine tries to compliment Perrin on how he handled the situation, but in his frazzled state, Perrin misinterprets her comments as further games and snaps at her. Berylaine leaves hurt, and Anura calls him a fool. He gives the Two Rivers men some instructions after they give him their own reports. Gaul and the maidens traveling with Perrin are veiled and ready to set off, with Gaul given the unusual privilege to lead the search party. Perrin asks him to find Faile, and Gaul tells him if she's still alive, they'll find her. On their way out, each maiden kisses her fingers and touches them to Perrin's shoulder. Grady and Neild also offer to help, but Perrin keeps them back with the rest of the force. He has seen what happens when you mix Shido with Ashaman, and they can't track as well as Elias, the warders, and some of the Two Rivers men. He goes to the Wise Ones to find out what to expect, but they tell him the Shido break custom, so who knows? Their only advice is get drunk. Back at his tent, Basil and Linny can't get Perrin to eat, and Perrin leaves again to find Talanvor looking for signs of the returning search party. Perrin joins him, and they stand in the cold until nightfall. We then switch to Faile, who is running through the snow naked along with the other Gaishain and their Aiel captors. The Wetlander captors are not doing well running in the snow. The Aiel don't seem to understand about the perils of marching barefoot through the snow, but eventually realize the prisoners won't survive this treatment and haul the Wetlanders up onto their shoulders. Alejandra and Magdan resist, but Faile tells them to cooperate. Faile tries to remain conscious, but eventually passes out on Roland's shoulder, and when she comes to, she has been covered by a blanket near a fire. The Gaishain brings her some tea and informs her of her lot. Tharava and Somarin arrive with Galena in tow. Faile notices Galena is dressed in white silks and is wearing jewelry, which is uncommon for a Gaishain. She also realizes that Tharava is a harsh woman and she'll have to act meek around her. But Alejandra stands up and announces herself and demands that her liege lady and her maid be treated appropriately, just as Savannah arrives. On a horse, no less. Faile and Magdan are forced to identify themselves, and Savannah claims them as her special Gaishain. Tharava and Somarin obviously dislike Savannah, and Faile thinks she can use that to her advantage. Savannah orders Galena to heal the new Gaishain, which she does. They're given Gaishain robes and boots and some food. They're also given jewelry to mark them as Savannah's Gaishain. When they have a moment, Faile tells Alejandra and Magdan to escape when they get a chance, but they refuse to split up. When they're on the move, Tharava approaches them again and tasks them with spying on Savannah for her. They have to comply or surely be killed in their sleep. Later, Galena approaches them as well, and when she learns who Faile is married to, immediately has something with which to blackmail them. She tasks Faile and her crew to steal the Oath Rod from Tharava. Finally, we switch back to Perrin, who is searching for Faile in the wolf dream. Hopper arrives to tell him she's not there and he needs to return to his body. Perrin lashes out at Hopper, who effortlessly flies over his attack and then urges Perrin to leave the wolf dream. He wakes up in Berylaine's bed, naked, but asks immediately about Faile. Berylaine tells him she sent out a search party to do some searching, but they were ambushed not far from camp and not by Shido. The implication is the Dragonsworn did it. Turns out Perrin and Talanvor both stayed out in the cold until they needed to be rescued and healed. Berylaine offers Perrin a truce until Faile is found, but Perrin asks why a truce is required. This sends Berylaine into a huff and a final decision not to relent on her sexual predation. After leaving and returning, she tells Perrin that Massima's men have started to arrive in large numbers. She also tells Perrin that Massima's been meeting with the Shaunchan and that she knows this thanks to the Faile. Perrin is surprised to learn Faile has actually been spying using the Faile, and Berylaine is impressed that Perrin can be discreet, thinking that he hid the spying from her knowingly. She continues to flirt with him, telling him he'd only be her third lover after two others for political reasons. He leaves and finds Massima's men, which by now number in the thousands. That brings us to Chapter 6, called The Scent of Madness. As our resident madman, Joe, can you give us a summary?
Yeah, certainly. Let's see.
Discord clipped you out there.
Well, I don't think that I was clipped out on recording, so...
Excellent.
Just have to wait and hear. The Scent of Madness. Yes, we are with Perrin. Again. Perrin finds Daniel. You remember the last chapter he left off to go look for Massima's men, which you just mentioned, and he finds Daniel first among the Two Rivers men to ask him where Massima is, because he asked Berylaine's servants, and they were just giggling behind their hands and pointed in some direction. But they are right. That is exactly where Massima's men are, with more coming every hour. There's thousands of them by now. So news of what happened to Berylaine's search party has already reached the camp. Remember, they found some bodies in the snow with, what are they called? Crossbow shafts in them. We know the Aiel don't use those. So everybody knows it's Massima's men who did it. Like, everybody. They're like, I think there's a comment here, it's like, these guys look bad enough to they look so bad they look like people who would skin their own mothers. And Perrin's like, yeah, if Massimo asked them to, they would. Like, totally. Holy shit, man. So as there is no word yet from the other search parties that are still out, Perrin has decided it's time to ride out and see for himself. So he's like, listen, we're fucking going, guys. He orders the Two Rivers men to send word to Elayne and to Arganda, to get their mayonnaise and what are the other? Where's Arganda from again?
Gildan.
The Gildanians to join them and
G unit.
Quote, to kindly inform the wise ones to join them as well and to stay close, and then to mount up and ride to the site of that ambush. So he tells Daniel as well, be as firm as you dare. And Daniel's like, well, that's nothing. There's no firmness coming from me.
I don't dare.
They are, everyone in the camp is still lauding him, like Lord Perrin this, Lord Perrin that. It's annoying him, but he tolerates it because he remembers Faile told him to. So he's like, all right, since to respect her, I want to say respect her memory as if she's dead already, but to respect her, he's going to do that. He's going to just go along with it. So while he's waiting at the fire for his orders to be carried out, old Basil Gill arrives. Apparently, Talonvor has ridden off and told everyone that Perrin said he was allowed to. Perrin did not say this, but he decides to let it slide, and he'll deal with him later. He tells him, yes, I told him he could go. He's looking at Gill, and Gill's like kind of smelling of irritation and looks all vexed and, out of sorts. And above the scent of horses even, Perrin smells more irritation coming from Linny, who is like on basically the other side of the camp. She's miles away. He could see her. And like amongst all of this, he can smell her from this distance. Like,
and she was down the wind as well.
And she's shooting daggers his way with her eyes, and she's holding a brass studded cudgel in the other hand. He's like, whoa, this woman looks like she's in for something. I might go have a word with her. And he's hungry because he hasn't eaten yet, and he was healed, remember? So he's even hungrier than he should be. So he heads over to her to go see if he can get some food off her. I've paraphrased here. The answer is no, and also go fuck yourself. And then she stalks off. He figures like, okay, she's just upset about Mygden, being missing, as Gil's also visually perturbed, and says, Gil's also told him that he really likes Mygden, not like Talonvor likes Mygden, but he also has strong feelings for her, keeping it to himself. So Perrin is confused, but he gets enough info from Gil, to figure out why everybody's like this. Turns out Elayne's servants have been implying that he did more than sleep in her tent last night. When Linny went to go and see him in the morning, they wouldn't let her get in the tent and said, like, oh, there's a little something going on in there. So she believes it for some strange reason, and this is making Perrin furious. He is now the Murin. He tells Gil to set the record straight with Linny, and Gil eagerly declines. He's like, I'm not talking to that woman. I'm not bringing this up around her. Are you insane? No thanks. So now Perrin's all paranoid. He starts interpreting everyone's treatment of him in a kind of a different light now. He's like, wait, do these people, when they're looking at me, what are they actually thinking? Did they all hear this rumor? Is it like, he's just sure it's already spread around the entire camp. He's like thinking about the Two Rivers men earlier. Like, did this like Kenley kid who sent Kenley to go and fetch his horse? He was like, did that kid smile at me, or did he smirk at me? So now he's all paros. So he is then approached by what remains of Char Faile. They are pissed off as usual. I assume it's like their default position. They are ready to go, but are being denied their horses. Perrin is angry at them, and he just chirps like, Aiel don't ride horses, they walk. And I was like, oh, nice, Perrin. They get vocal about it. And Perrin, in his anger, changes the subject to them spying for Faile. And he kind of implies that it's all their fault. Like, you shouldn't have taken her out there. Did you go out to meet spies? And that's why she got caught. He knows immediately that it's bullshit. But instead of apologizing, he tells them that he'll give them their horses if they promise to follow his orders. And they agree. Until Faile comes back, we will listen to you and do what you say. Good enough for him. And off they go. A shout goes out across the camp at this point that Aiel are coming. So he mounts his horse to go check it out. when he reaches the Two Rivers men, they are ready to fight. They've also heard that Aiel, of course, it was screamed out, and they got bows at the ready. I love these guys. Everything is ready to go. Grady and Neild are also there and are undoubtedly brimming with Sidene. He doesn't know that, but he just smells that they are ready. Perrin sees them coming. He sees the Aiel coming before anyone else, and he's like, everyone calm the fuck down. It's the maidens. Everyone chill, because he could see miles further than anyone else. He even tells him, like, can't you see they're maidens? And he's like, and the Two Rivers men are like, dude, we can't even see that they're Aiel at this point. You know, just see figures. But it's the maidens that left to go search. It's also Seonit and Missouri's 3 warders. I can't remember if Seonit has 2 of them and Missouri's 1. Whoever's the green, that's the 2 warders. They have Alejandre's horse between them and a bundle on top of the horse. And for a second he thinks, oh, fuck, it's a body, you know? But then he realizes it's too small. And
so
it's like,
a head.
just her head. Yeah. When they arrive, they tell it's Sulin. And she's like, good news, your wife isn't dead. She was only taken Guy Shane. It's like, I don't know if that's good news for him. But I suppose, yeah, better than dead. I'll take that. The rest of the search party has pressed on. Gaul, what's the other dude? Wolfman. Elias. Yeah, they've carried on because there was more stuff to go see and find and search, but they thought they'd come back. She tells him, Sulin she tells Perrin that all the men were killed. But they found Faile, Alejandre, Maigden, Lucille, and Arella's clothes. They also mentioned 2 others, Bane and Chiad, obviously. But Perrin realizes that naming them would shame them. And I'm like, Perrin's actually learned something about Aiel. Like, he figures it out. He's like,
good man.
Oh, they must be these 2, and we can't name them. So Perrin is worried that they only took women. He's like, what? And Sulin is kind of shocked that he would even imply that the Shido would take advantage of them in that way. It's like, listen, they're Shido dogs, but not even they would do that to Guy Shane. You know, they wouldn't touch Guy Shane in that way. Perrin asks which way they were going and decides, well, fuck it, we're going to follow themselves. At this point, he's like, seems like taking Massima to Rand is going to have to wait. Sorry, guys. Sulin tells him he must see the other things that they have found first, like before we go running off after everybody. And she's got some more stuff. She's got a bundle of arrows there from many different clans, basically. She's like throwing them on the ground, you know, like this one marks this clan and that clan. And she's implying that there are too many Shido for them to fight. Like, listen, these guys, the guys that kidnapped your wife are a small group, true, but they're moving fast, they're days ahead of you, and they're probably going to go join the main force of Shido. It's going to be too much for us to fight. And they may have around, at this point, you know, like the same amount of fighters. They have enough fighters, but against Aiel, it's more than useless. Don't worry about it. But, of course, he doesn't care. It's Faile we're talking about. He's already mounting Stepper when Sulin tells him, look, listen, I told you there's more. Just listen to, let me finish first before you go running off. They also found horse droppings and campfires buried in the snow. So there are also around 5,000 to 10,000 soldiers out there around, also heading south, seem to be following the Shido. So this is obviously, well, not obviously, because they also saw Rakan flying around, and they've also found Lopar tracks. So we know the Sean Chan are there. But now we were just talking about the White Cloaks. I assumed it might have been them as well, but now it's pretty much confirmed. So just because they saw Rocket in the sky and found these Lopar tracks as well doesn't mean that the
horses in
those
the campfires
are soldiers.
No.
Yeah, the horses kind of give it. That's got to be the White Cloaks.
It just had me thinking: have we ever seen Sean Chan riding horses?
I don't know.
I don't think that we have.
What a planet.
Because they ride Lopar and other those bird things and stuff as well, and Raken certainly. But I can't think of a time.
Maybe Lopars and horses don't get along. The horses get fed to the Lopars.
I think horses. We've read that horses are skittish around them. Yeah,
yes.
Because they're the food for this Lopar.
Yes. Their places on the food pyramid are very clearly demarcated. There is another Sean Chan animal. We read this a long time ago. I'll go read it again in our next episode's callbacks. But there are two animals in the Sean Chan forces that can't stand each other. It's the bird-like creatures whose name I forget, and the Lopar, I think. Like the Lopar can go just like into a killing frenzy when those things are around and are then impossible to control. But I don't remember anything about horses. Anyway, that just strengthens your theory.
I've got that page open.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Because I couldn't figure, because they were describing the paw prints in the snow, and I was like, what animal is that? I couldn't remember the name, so I looked it up. And out of the animals here, we've got Raken, Toraken, Grolm, Coralm, Lopar, Torm, Sreddit are the elephants I know. And then Cuff, which I mean is coffee. That's not an animal, but
could be the Torm.
It's still on the list. Is it the Torm and the Lopar? Let me click on Torm. What is a Torm? A cross between a horse-sized cat and a lizard.
Oh, no. I thought that's what a Lopar was. What's a Lopar then?
A Lopar is like a leopard with scales.
Yes, scaly leopard. Scaly cat.
Two cat-like things then.
Doesn't say much about them not getting along with.
I'll go find it.
Oh, the Coralm appear to be large flightless birds. It's the Coralm.
Okay.
It's too many
vowels.
Consonants there together.
Yeah.
There's only one vowel. It's 5 letters with one vowel.
It needed less vowels.
Corlm. Corlm.
You're doing it wrong,
So yeah,
Sean-chan.
they the ostrich kind of things. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, I think all of that is to say, I think you're right, Jody, in that specifically mentioning horses and campfires.
Yeah.
I think RJ is trying to imply it's the White Cloaks or another army, which we know to be the White Cloaks.
So out to the south, we have White Cloaks, Shido, and Sean-chan. And he's heading there with Massima's army. Because, spoilers, that's what's going to happen. There's only 2 more things to go.
And Perrin's force at this stage, this is notable, is around, it's just over 2,000 men. He's got 900 winged guards. He's got about 1,000 Gildanian soldiers from Arganda and a couple hundred Two Rivers men.
Yeah. Okay, so while they might be able to take on some of those troops, no.
He thinks to himself here when Sulan says, we might be dealing with a full sept. That's 1,000 spears plus any, other people picking up weapons. And Perrin thinks to himself, against 1,000 Shido, they'll win. Even though he's got twice as many troops, he knows the Shido will come out on top in that. He does not want to take on that fight. Yeah.
Good man. He's learned his lesson.
He does.
He does learn stuff. But, tough shit. He's still going. He's not stopping. They're still going south. His plan is like, all right, everybody mount up, let's go. We're gonna get the Ashaman to open a gateway for us. We're gonna travel about 40 miles south first. We're gonna try and meet up with Elias, and then we'll regroup and take it from there and march further south and see what we can find. And then there's like a bird calling, a blue tit apparently, or whatever it's called. Not a bird from there. So Perrin hears it first, and that call means unfriendlies approaching, lots of them. And guess who it is? It's our dear old friend, Massima. Told you would smell some psycho. So he tells this psycho that he must head east while they go south to find Faile. It's like, listen, you carry on to Rand. We'll sort out, and then Massima's like, listen, no, wait, you're going south. I want to go with you. Like he tells them that killing Aiel's savages is the light's work. With Aiel around him. Like, hey man, Sulan's right there. Yep. Giving him dagger stares as well. So Perrin's like, listen, mate, that's great. It'd be awesome to have an extra army with me. Cannon fodder to throw at these Aiel savages. We'll send you in first, I imagine that's what he's thinking. But he's kind of stoked he can use the men. But he's, listen, also we're going to travel there. Like first thing we're doing is opening a gateway. So you said you wouldn't do that. Massima's like, listen, just this one time, I'll allow it. We'll do it. And then we'll go off with you to help you. And I'm like, that's
Double
very
standards.
suspicious.
Yeah, super.
No. And basically that's where the chapter ends, with them ready to move out and go kick some ass.
Yeah.
Anything else I missed?
Willem,
I
what you got?
have got a bone to pick.
He's got something.
I have not given up on this, and I'm
Perrin
sorry.
and his
I'm gonna...
tracking.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
Elias Machera smelt horse dung and a fire under the snow that was days old. He found a child's toy indicating that it's a sept on the move, deep under the snow. Elias can smell a fart upwind 4 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening with Perrin's nose? Why is he not sniffing his wife out on all fours? Okay, so that's all I'm going to say. I'll leave the sniffing thing out there, but we've got a really good direction to the sense of smell that there is of these wolf brothers. So
How do you know that Elias is not following Faile's scent as we speak? In this moment, Elias is out there following a trail because Sulan says there's plenty of tracks to follow here. There's plenty of sign.
No, that's again, Perrin, the husband
Has responsibilities.
of Faile, that yes, his primary responsibility is his lady liege, Faile. He should be on all fours, running through the wind, discarding of snow, hammers and axes, and howling and running.
Now, tell me, Vil, do you think that aligns with the character of Perrin that we've been
No, but just
given
allow me
over
my rant.
8 books?
Just allow me my rant. I just wanted an accurate use of his abilities. Second point of frustration.
Oh God, there's more.
Let's go.
Yeah, of course. I've got a lot of frustration with Perrin in this dark Perrin stage. And I mean, to be fair, we've slammed Matt in dark Matt stages. We've slammed Rand in dark Rand stages. We've got a dark Perrin stage now. I mean, Rand was feral at a stage. And the word I'll still keep on using is feral Rand. But now Perrin's got the lunatic Massima and his entourage, who agrees to making a gateway so that they can quickly hop and skip 40 miles. Why doesn't he fucking make a gateway open to Rand? Say, hey, Rand, here's your madman. Deal with him. Can I have 1,000 Aiel to go and get my wife?
I also thought that.
Uh-huh.
But Rand is not there.
I was going to say, where's Rand?
Rand wouldn't be there. Rand's fucked off, remember? Him and Min are having an unscheduled trip.
That's assuming the chapters play out in chronological order and there's no overlap there, which can be the case. Vil, I think basically Perrin is letting Elias do the wolf power tracking while he tries to maintain control over these people that are at each other's throats, right? Like, I mean, Arganda and his men want to kill the wise ones, and like the Two Rivers men are looking every direction the whole time trying to keep the peace.
I'm not one to point out the bad points in good men, but he has woken up naked in another woman's tent the morning after his wife disappeared. I mean, that speak volumes of poor character of Perrin right over there. He's clearly on a
betraying our beefy boy. You know exactly what happened. He sat in the dark.
I won't stand for this.
He passed out from hypothermia, looking out for signs of his wife, and then was dragged into Elayne's bed. You know better than Elayne's servants.
People will believe that. People are believing it.
They are believing it. I mean, Dark Friend here is seeing this and singing like, as any politician would, like, ooh, we can head to the front covers of the paper with this type of news. He would have been in less trouble if he put his nose to the ground and ran after his wife. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, that is factually correct.
Noted. We'll jot this down in the archives.
Anything else, Willie, that does not involve Perrin cartoonishly dragging his face through the snow?
No. What else I have is just that it was fantastic, the maidens finding the various arrows at the battle scene and being able to distinguish by the make or the hallmarks of the arrows which clans or war society they belong to.
It stings to read Tardad, Goshin,
and I mean,
Ruak's
even
clan.
Was it Sulan that was doing it? I can't remember. But also she is Tardad and like with a sting, like my people.
I think she's Goshin.
Goshin?
But yes.
It was Goshin. One of the two. It was one of them.
Her own clan.
But again, also just highlighting, like, look, this is the brotherless
Yes.
What are they named?
The Meridine.
Meridine. That's doing this. So it's saying there's a much bigger force. So yeah, it's an ominous chessboard that's set up around Perrin at the moment.
Oh, yes.
And it's not cool that he is not really within his senses. Dark Perrin mode.
Just talking about another thing I forgot to mention that I thought was interesting is that he thinks to himself over here, like the Shido is supposed to be, pinned up in Kingslayer's dagger, like thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
And he thinks like must be the something about the Forsaken involved, and he thinks that's dumb. Why would the Forsaken be involved in this?
Yes.
Like, no, you're exactly right.
Go with it.
Right
Run
on
with
it.
When Sulin is tossing out those arrows, she has a couple from all those clans that are not Shido, right? And then she dumps out a big pile of them that are all Shido. So in that moment, she says, this is a lot of arrows with Meridine. We're probably talking about at least a sept. When we read about Tharava, Somarin, and Savannah speaking in the previous episode, Savannah mentions that they found another sept. And Tharava goes,
the
okay,
fourth or the
that's
fifth?
5.
5, yeah.
That was the 5th. So Sulin thinks about 1,000 spears. Actually,
it's way more.
It's like 5,000. So Perrin, not only are you undergunned against the Shido, you are actually way more undergunned than you even thought. So yes, caution here is key. Do not just rush in there because you will get absolutely slammed. Also, with all these Meridine joining them, you just don't know how big those forces really are. Anything else, Phil?
No, it's a pretty straightforward chapter. There's not deep diving.
Pretty nothing happens,
things.
They're about to set off, right? Like this is the opening the front door and stepping out onto the road.
When you do that, it's the Frodo Baggins walking out of his front door.
Yes, that's exactly.
And then he steps into a giant pile of shit. That's Masema joining them right there and then. It's like, oh, fuck this.
What are we talking? Are we talking movie Frodo or book Frodo? Because in the books, it takes him 18 years from when Gandalf visits him before he leaves.
I know.
No,
I remember
true?
that very well.
Yeah.
There is a passing of a tremendous
decades.
amount of time before I think children are had and generations were born, and the ring was just stuck in the cupboard. He'd forgotten about it quite clearly. Yes, Joe, I remember that is a very, very long time. But eventually he does step out the front door and needs to get going. And then he runs into Masema.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck.
He steps in Masema.
Everybody knows what we're talking about. It's clear.
Let's see. What do I have here? I've got a couple little things. Surprise, surprise. Perrin does the thing that we saw the Sean Chan do as well. Tell the scouts not to look for a specific thing. In this case, Aiel, lest they forget there are others that want them dead. Perrin tells the scouts. Remember, there was that brief chapter where we read about some Sean Chan leaders in the mountains of Altara before Rand shows up. The guy, I think one of the Sean Chan officers kills one of his officers because he was being nonsensical, and he had told the scouts to go look for specifically these forces when he knows, don't tell the scouts what to look for. They need to look for everything and anything.
You look for
and
something.
Perrin does it, yeah. So I think that's Robert Jordan's military training coming in.
That scene was that guy with the raven tattoos who just nonchalantly stabbed him in the throat or something.
Yeah.
When this,
That's the one.
You're a fool. Don't need you.
Linny perplexes Perrin when she says, when you sup from too many dishes, you deserve a bellyache. And Perrin's like, but I haven't eaten anything. Just oblivious to her comment about him sleeping with too many women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he asks Basil as well, like, is that one of her sayings? Like,
She's such a country bumpkin. When Perrin's talking to the Chafail, he says to them, like, he can actually compliment them on something, and he says that he respects their loyalty to Faile. Like, he gives them, he throws them a bone before he becomes all like, now follow my rules. He goes, look, I'll give you this. You are very loyal to her, and I can respect that. So, good for you. But then he also says to them, if your water oath says different, after he gives them a command, he goes, if your water oath says different, tie a knot in it, or I'll tie a knot in you. They're like, oh, okay.
And he could.
Yes. I had a chuckle at the wise ones who, like, while they're riding, because Perrin makes them all ride, the wise ones, like, when no one's looking, slide off the horses and then run next to them. And then when they look, they climb back on the horse, like, taking every opportunity to not ride. It was in this section where Sulin compliments Jondon Baron, the Two Rivers tracker, of like seeing as much sign as Elias Makera does. So I was jumping the gun in the previous episode. I had read ahead.
He makes them snowshoes as well.
He does, yes, from pine boughs and vines, which is very cool.
Well, shows them how to make them, and then they're like, oh, this is good.
Yes, which is great. I love that.
Mm-hmm. They're adapting.
Yeah, and that's it from me. So we can move along to chapter 7 called The Streets of Camelin. Willie, what's the word on the streets?
Okay, I'm just going to sigh because this is
not
a very long chapter.
Here we go.
We are on the streets of Camelin, quite literally. Elayne is garbed and noticeable as the... What do you call the queen in waiting, or
the daughter heir?
No, daughter heir, but she's making a claim to the throne. But before there's like
claimant? No,
claimant. No, not claimant.
Yeah,
claimant.
Are you talking about like or incumbent?
Incumbent, isn't it? Incumbent. Anywho,
incumbent, the person that's already there.
Yes.
Okay. We'll put a pin in that one and find a better word.
Call back for just English.
English.
The English language.
Just
what does this word
edit
mean?
it all out.
Anyway, a little bit of pointing out the fact that the streets are frozen. Not so much of snow at the moment. Clear skies, sunny, freezing. The city is back to the brim. Like, it's noticeable, and she seems to think at the stage that there are more people in the city than in Tar Valon. But despite her claim that she's laid to the throne, she is still yet to win the hearts and soul of the people. And while thinking about all of this and seeing all the people, there's some cheers of House Rakant and Lady Elayne and what. And then she reflects on feeling of Vienda and her sister. Saritha is with Elayne, with a warder, Neil. And there were a bunch of 8 other women that's with them, Queen's Guard. 8 Queen's Guards. Now, they're all women, surprisingly. So Brigitte has been looking for a whole bunch of ladies to do the protecting. Rosella is like the under captain. She's a felon. There's some under women. There's a whole mix of them. The majority of them is ex-hunters for the Horn. So if Faile was there, she'd probably be roped into this as well. And there's Andoran, Penny Denny or something. My handwriting's pretty bad. Who's pretty bad with a sword, but very useful with a cudgel. And she used to work as a bouncer at one of the big clubs. So she's deft at throwing out drunk men. Sarifa's telling Elayne that it's not too late for them to get out of here because they're moving into what is referred to as a crush. Streets now narrowing. And none of them believe that it's safe because they are all logical and think about safety. Elayne is not that sensible at this point in time. There's word of 10 sisters shacked up just 2 miles from where they are or something in a house. And Elayne's like, no, there's no red sisters there. It can't be Elidas cronies. Like, give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, you ignorance of youth.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Now, Elida has in the past issued orders that she should be captured on sight and brought back to the tower. Obviously, those are old orders, but it doesn't mean that people will not still execute them, I suppose. Saritha then tells Elayne that there are still many that's against her. It's like, you have enemies. Like, being out here is actually quite silly. But Elayne doesn't want to hear anything of this. she's thinking about a clerk Nori, but we'll deal with Nori a lot more deftly in the next installment of my chapter. She makes a very big note of the quantity of refugees in the city. So cities has become the safe hubs, but the safe hubs doesn't mean that their bellies are full. There's a lot of hunger. She decides to pass a coin to one of the guardswomen to pass to one of the moms and kids sitting on the side of the road. I suppose kind of like that peasant digging in the mud when King Arthur rides past. You, woman.
Let's not. I could recite the whole thing, and I'm so tempted to, but I'm going to stop myself.
I want to set you guys off on a
Let's just call him Dennis.
Dennis. Yeah.
Didn't call you one?
Sarita
Stop.
Jody.
Jody's settled in.
Hold.
Paul.
Sarita reminds her that, look, you can't feed everyone, but her soup kitchens are packed to the brim, and some people don't even make it to the soup kitchens. And I don't know if that's out of their own, like, they're so Yolanda lum that they don't even go and get the food that's been made for them. There's a lot of new traders popping up in the areas, clockmakers, glass blowers, lace makers, and she already thinks, okay, cool, new trades means taxes. Elayne's really much in royal coffers need to get filled, obviously. What shall we look out for? Among the crowd, there's a very big note made by the quantity of mercenaries that are around, which I suppose can be a good thing or a bad thing. If she's got Tom, she can employ them. If she doesn't have Tom, someone else can employ them. So it can play out either way, but there's a large pool of fighting men at the ready. She feels Brigitte coming with a sense of haste and coming very quickly and angrily. So she decides, all right, let's head in her direction, which she'll be coming the shortest route to where she is. So she sets her intercoursing GPS route and leads the party south. Eventually, they turn into Pearman's Lane after leaving Needle Street, where the needle makers used to be, but needles aren't that fashionable anymore. So there's a lot of other business that set up shop. Pearman's Lane is still, guys selling pears and stuff. Very interesting place, this. Red-cloaked Brigitte, without a sword, bow, or nothing, comes charging down on a horse. A frozen pigeon has arrived. Now that set me off on it. Hold up. All right. I assume the pigeon was cold, but maybe this is why the news is like there's a whole. I'm going to go off on a tangent about the letters.
People aren't thawing their pigeons before sending them off with messages.
Yes.
You just throw them out of towers like paper planes and hope they arrive.
Just put them in the microwave, auto defrost.
They hold open their wings like they're frozen, and then they hope the wing don't break, and then they put them in the catapult or the ketty, and then lob them out and hope that the message arrives. There's news. Linya and Nyan, or whatever, their party got ambushed. They got.
I pronounce it Elayne.
But this is news.
They didn't get. They were taken.
They were taken. Their guardsmen were. All right, but this means that there's a spy in the palace. And I mean, you've been recruiting like wildfire. It's ample opportunity for people to get in. And Brigitte wants to use this as evidence that she should have bodyguards, like full time. And I'm thinking, you already got a bouncer with a cudgel. I mean, just put her beside you, like let her taste your tea, perhaps. Someone might try and kill you. But no, she's headstrong, and she's not going to do this. Even Sarita says, this is probably a good idea, but Elayne is headstrong, and she gets angry about it. So we'll just leave it at that. Sarita says, you know what, it would even right now be a good thing to be in nice warm rooms with books and safety, and reverse psychology just chinks off Elayne's stubborn armor. So we'll take it for what it is. There is more news. Arangil is probably taken.
Arangil, wasn't that where Nyan and Elayne were kept, where Dylan sort of
Yes.
imprisoned them?
Yeah, important to note, Arangil is a place, not a person.
Not a
I was very
person.
confused for a long time. It sounds like a person's name. I was like, Lord Arangil? Who's...
No, it's a place.
Yes.
Then they're riding back to the palace now. Decisions were made to get back home. And her mind drifts to thinking about money to pay for men. It's a very royal thing that you need enough money for men. Men equals power, power equals money. They arrive at the Perils, move through the back gates to the stable yards. Fireheart's very skittish, so Fireheart is Elaine's horse now. I don't know if this is a new addition to her entourage and animals, menagerie. She enters a windowless room that is kind of like purposefully laid out, minimalistic, just the bare necessities. You get a sense that there's been a lot of selling of things to pay for things. The palace isn't in a state of opulence. Elayne then decides that this is a good time to ask Birgitte if she wants a water cloak, as if that is going to be of any significance. But Birgitte doesn't care.
That would be so cool. The Lord Captain Commander, or what is the top rank of the Andorran forces?
Captain of the Guard or something?
Captain of the Guard? What was
Captain General?
Gareth Bryan?
Anyway.
Captain General sounds good.
Anyway,
Wonderful.
imagine that uniform with a water cloak. Like, what a cool combo, you know? Like, how much authority are you exuding strolling around in that?
But Birgitte seems to think that now is a good time for her to have a nice long talk with Elayne, because she's getting a little bit angry. And that pretty much is the end of that chapter. They had a walk in the street and got some gossip. Well, not gossip,
Yes.
news.
A bit of news. A smattering. Joseph, what do you got? Come on, cut it open and lay it all out for us. What is all the hidden meaning in this chapter?
Be more careful, Elayne. Don't stroll around the streets, because she wanted, I think her Lord Captain General Commander wanted her to take 100 troops with her, and she took 8 of some weirdos she found wandering around the city. But true, they did pass inspection by Birgitte herself, so that's a pretty high bar to jump over. I suppose you have to get over the bar.
Look, there's also reference of Birgitte starting to be
Clear.
forgetful, and she can't remember any of her past 300 lives. So
interesting.
she is slipping. So is she
She's out
of
of the
sound
pattern.
of
She's out of
mind?
the
Is she able
loop.
to stand for the position of Captain Commander of the Royal
That's
Guard?
dark friend talk. Just because she's not remembering things from 2,000 years ago doesn't mean she can't function as a human being now. She has major
don't know.
credit. She can lose some memories and still be way
I don't
ahead of
know.
anyone else.
It's slippage. Slippage is slippy, and it's a slippery slope. Once you
Her
go in,
memories...
once you
Spoken
go
like
into
a true dark friend.
Let's talk over him. Her memories can only go as far back as to just before the founding of the White Tower.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, that's still a wealth of knowledge.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about stuff about the Age of Legends? Do you think that's not important?
That's Matt. Matt's got that covered.
Okay.
Oh no, his memories don't go that far back, do
They
they?
don't.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, legend phase
Entire
to
age lost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point.
Anything else?
Yeah, don't worry, it'll come again.
Okay. There's mention here of fires in Camden. This is the work of Millie Skane. I had a brief recollection of fires being a reality, and Millie is actively sending people out and burning granaries. and your food stores and warehouses and that sort of stuff. So because her job is to unsettle Camelin, to make it ripe for
She's still very much
overthrowing.
running off the agenda of let the Lord of Chaos rule. She's still very much on that directive.
Well, she is under direct command now from Moradin. So Moradin is giving her orders. Moradin is now resolved to killing Rand. I don't think he's letting the Lord of Chaos rule anymore. Moradin is actually a bit of an edge case. Like he's got his own, it seems like he's got his own agenda, right? But the other Forsaken, like with Deshiva or Agonor trying to kill Rand in Kyrian because Rand is going to cleanse the male half of the source. I think let the Lord of Chaos rule is kind of by the wayside now. But chaos in general, like this has got nothing to do with Rand, right? Like Millie causing unrest in Camelin just weakens Camelin and the Andoran forces and therefore the forces of the light, right? So any kind of chaos, I think, for the Dark Friends at this stage is a good thing.
Would it be too much to ask that we get just a short story, kind of like New Spring, that just tells the life of Millie and all his shenanigans? Because it's vast.
I hope not.
And you're intrigued, aren't you?
Absolutely.
She's like a bit of a mentor for you.
I got this like sick feeling the whole time during this chapter. Like, where is David Hanlon? You know he's there. You know he's trying to worm his way in. And it's like,
he's coming.
I'm thinking the next page.
Yeah.
He's like a shadow in your mind. And there was a point where she comes back from her ride. I don't think this is in my chapter. The end of your chapter, Willie, when she comes back from her ride, and before, like a man who helps her get off the horse, and she wants to look at him, she wants to turn around and look back at him, but she schools herself not to. Like, I'm wondering if that's him, because everybody is a suspect now, because she doesn't know what he looks like. So from her perspective, in the book when you're reading it,
but that was a stable hand. That wasn't a soldier, was it?
I don't know.
It was a stable man.
Hanlon arrives in today's episode.
All right.
He's coming.
So I thought maybe he was already sneaking in.
It's the dark. The shadow's got its tentacles in your brain. You're paranoid. Paranoid. Who's David Hanlon?
Paranoia.
Where's
chaos,
the knife going to come from?
Everywhere.
I like the fact that Elayne is actively working towards earning the affection of her people and not sort of demanding it, like as we would expect from a virtuous and kind protagonist like Elayne. That's what we want from her. Kasil Raskovny is the leader of the bodyguards for Elayne and second in charge to David Hanlon at one stage. Like, so she rises in the ranks, not just as Elaine's bodyguard, but like in the actual guard, because Hanlon becomes the captain of the guard. And then Kasil becomes his 2IC. I had a note here about it's great that Elayne is trying to use her deductive skills about, the Aes Sedai. There aren't any reds there. They're also not coming all at the same time. So it doesn't seem like they're a party. That is a huge assumption, like you said, Phil. Like, just because there aren't reds there, it doesn't mean that they're not from Elaida. Like, Elaida is also capable of some subterfuge, it doesn't have to be blatantly obvious that it's her. So I'm in two minds there. And I'm glad that she's trying to take these things and piece together this scenario based on the bits of information that she has, which she does in a later chapter quite well. But I didn't like her skills. She misfired on that one.
I just believed her. I have faith in our queen.
You're a loyal queen's man.
Me and Basil.
Yeah, Basil, all the same innkeepers. Didn't you work me for very long?
Basil's so out of sorts because Magdan, his queen, has been taken. That's why he's so agitated and frustrated. Apparently, kidnapping other claimants to the throne was almost customary. Elayne seems to think that's normal. People trying to kidnap, and then is still just not safe. I might be jumping into a future chapter. Please don't crucify me if I am. But isn't there a story here about Elayne and Avienda going out one night and getting beset by a bunch of street hooligans, street roughs or something?
It was in this chapter. I didn't bring that. Yeah, it's just a cautionary warning.
Because it doesn't happen here. She just sort of thinks back when they're making all these comments about her current situation. It's obviously with this flavor of Elayne, you were just rescued, and kidnapping claimants to the throne is normal. Elaida wants you back at the tower. why are you not listening to reason and just letting us guard you? She's like, oh, no, I got to be seen by all the people. She is being so fucking reckless. And I've got a note here that last time Millie Skane and Elayne were in the same city, she was also almost kidnapped in Ibudar.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Elayne...
the big...
The
one or two
rock-throwing
arrows,
incident.
who was knocked unconscious,
Yeah.
how debate. Yes.
That old chestnut. Yeah. So, yeah, Elayne, just suck it up and get the guards. It's in this chapter where Elayne uses her reasoning skills again when she's talking to Saratha. And Saratha says, well, if you don't do this with these lords, then XYZ is going to happen. And then Elayne just plays out all the scenarios for her. If this happens, we know this. We know XYZ based on these people's actions. And then Saratha is almost like taken aback. She's like, oh, yeah, that's very well reasoned. Well done.
Elayne, this is just, I suppose, is endearing because we do know what happens towards the end of our evening's discussion. Is it a method of Robert Jordan to write main characters into moments of obviously not stupidity, just of poor judgment, that you pick up in this build up of poor judgment and poor thinking to the point where, okay, you've hit the wall now, and then wipe the brow type escape happens again, just to sort of elevate, your emotion around it. Because we see this time and time again with the looseness in Ibudar and the girls when they were up at Tarabon. What was the city there? Tanchico.
Yeah.
That you go through these moments of like, dog, what are you doing? You're going to get caught. And then you get caught. It's kind of like the blonde girl running up the stairs from the slasher as opposed to running out the back door situation.
For sure. I mean, like by setting the scene and sort of subconsciously letting you know that this person can make mistakes and that they are fallible and that their judgment isn't always spot on. Like, I mean, here it's sort of like hammered into us. Like Elayne, we're all seeing the sense that Birgitte and everyone around Elayne is speaking, but Elayne is making these choices anyway. So maybe that does open the door for Elayne to be duped by forkroot just being served as tea. It's not even like put in something else. It's just like, here's some tea, drink it. Oh, drats, it was forkroot. Yeah, my last note here was just grow up, Elayne. I loved Birgitte putting her down and making her admit, or at least admit to herself, that even when Elayne swears, she doesn't always know the meaning of the word she's using. Birgitte goes, at least I know what I'm saying. You don't even know what you're saying, so just shut up. And Elayne is like, I think I know what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Birgitte's got one on her there.
She sounds like me with language over there.
Just even more reckless and foul, if that can be believed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, chapter 8 is called, drumroll, The Sea Folk and the Kin. Can you give us a quick summary, please, Jody?
No. Good night.
First note, groan at the title.
Well, yeah, Elayne arrived. We're still with her. She's now in the halls. She, at the end of the last chapter, Willie never set me up, so I'll set myself up. She sends someone off to go fetch Rena. I'm going to pronounce her Rena from now on. I don't know if that's how we always pronounce it. Rena Harfer, because in this chapter is Rianne as well. It's very confusing. It's just one letter difference. Mm-hmm. So Elayne meets Rena Harfer in the hallway on the way to their meeting. Because they were, sent her to my apartments, but she met her in the hallway already because this woman is on it. Mm-hmm. This is Rena. Mm-hmm. She hasn't caught any spies yet. All right. She has been searching for the spies. She's been asking some questions, but she did uncover a pair because they fled the palace when they heard that Rena was asking questions about spies. So they were like, we better get the fuck out of town quick. And they did. They left everything behind. Very suspicious. So they might have... she also admits that they could have been thieves as well. There's a lot of pilfering happening in the palace at the moment. So maybe Willie, like the minimalism in the palace isn't them selling stuff. It's just being robbed blind.
We better sell this stuff before we get started.
Exactly. So there's some theft, there's spies. Things are not looking good.
No.
You know? Elayne is sure that they were spies, that these two that fled were spies. She's like, 100% they were spies, and there will be more. You just keep, looking, because there's going to be spies not just from the noble houses, but from Aes Sedai as well. Like 100% the Aes Sedai have eyes and ears in this place right now. Don't stop looking. Back to business from Rena, that is. She's like, yeah, of course I'll keep looking. Helwyn Norrie, the first clerk, if you don't recall, wants to see her, but he won't say why. She doesn't like this. She likes to know why everybody wants to see her. Only that it's important. So, like, okay, cool. I'll go look at him. Then also some merchants are here, some tobacco merchants and some weavers. They want an audience with you. They want some tax cuts. Well, Elayne's just tax. And these people are like, listen, times are tough. We need some tax cuts. And then also Elayne needs to sign off on the accounts book that she's got under her arms. She's going to have to give that to Helwyn, or he's not going to like it. Those numbers are not looking good. Apparently the food stores are going bad. In winter, can you believe it? The hams are turning. Also, there's weevils and moths in all the stuff. They've lost more than half of the flour.
It's so cold. How does the weevils live in the cold? I don't get that. Like,
as a dark friend, you should know. It's the dark one.
It's like, we have power, but we don't have that level of power to
you
affect
don't.
the full biological living being system. Yes, that of an entire insect.
No, what's happening is Faile is sitting in a room in Melis Gaines' house, casting tiny weaves on individual weevils to keep the air around them warm, so that they can live in these grains of these bags of grain.
Yes, and then sending them off.
She's got Faile and Marilyn Gamelfin at her disposal.
Oh, Gamelfin. I love that name. Hate that person, but that name's awesome. So I don't know. I mean, the weather's weird. The Dark One's touching the world.
Well, they're surprised by this.
He's targeting the cured hams specifically. That's like number one on his list.
First, we'll take their hams. Then we'll take their lands.
That'll break their spirits. There's no more ham, people. So yeah, everything's going to shit. People are stealing everything. The hams are bad. There's weevils. No, so it's all shit. So Elayne's like, yeah, okay, that's very weird in winter that this is happening, but I don't want to deal with that right now. Like, I need to all these this paperwork and administrative cuck. I can't deal with it right now. I need time to sit down and think about these spies, and then also about this Nayan and Elayne and what her next political move is going to be. She's bigger fish to fry. Mm-hmm. But she figures she'll have to see old Norrie first, as without him, everything would have fallen apart already, because he's apparently the guy that kept it all together while her mother disappeared, while that Forsaken that's now dead.
Real
Ravin?
He's so irrelevant. Ravin took over. I don't think Ravin was the kind of guy to have regular meetings with Helwyn Norrie to talk about the accounts. No. And then after he disappeared and no one was in charge, he kept on doing the accounts. He kept on doing his job. He kept everything. He kept people. The suppliers were paid. Mm-hmm. Everything was done. The stocks were bought. So, yeah.
With the absence of a boss, you still need a salary. So he still needs to do his job so that he can sign off on his own paycheck, I guess.
Of course.
He did it not out of the love of the kingdom, but out of his own needs.
He probably also just gets off on doing accounts. He seems like the type that just loves his job. He loves the dry, dusty accounting.
He was like, when all the bosses disappeared, he was like just looking at the accounts books, lying there, drooling, going, I gotta go.
I cannot stop.
Yeah, so he had to.
The accounts must go on.
He's addicted. Yes. So yeah. She figures he's on the list. Everyone else can go to hell, but I'll go and see this guy. Reen also tells her that Rianne, you see, there it is, Corley wants to see her. She has good news. I'm like, good news? Everyone's like, good news? That's weird.
Are all the kin going to leave?
Did all the Windfinders die? Let's hope so. Now, so that seems interesting to her. She's cool on that. And That seems interesting, as do the two kinswomen walking down the hall with a strange woman between them on an Adam. Covered with again, infallible disguises. Just put a blanket over the leash. No one will know what's going on. So she's like, ooh, that looks interesting. Asking Rena to leave the accounts on her desk, she heads in their direction. She's like, all right, I'll sign those accounts, put them in my room. I'm going this way. Off she goes. She is deep in thought while she's busy walking. Comes around a corner and almost collides with Vandene, who is also deep in thought. And looking not too great. She's very gaunt in her face. She's not eating properly. And she hasn't dealt with her sister's death very well. She's with Christian and Zariah, who you remember are the kinswomen who were runaways. They are both in novice white, and with meek looks on their faces. Apparently, they have been doing an investigation on their own, without anybody overseeing them, into the murder of Adelaus and Ispan, and they have narrowed down the suspects to Mirilel, Saratha, or Carrie-Anne. It was Saratha, wasn't it?
Carrie-Anne. Carrie-Anne
that was my
Francie.
guess. Okay, I remember you mentioned it, Moritz, in the previous one.
I'm trying to say it as often as possible so that I remember who that is and what they do.
Well, say it more because I don't remember. Willie wasn't even involved in this conversation. So it's Carrie-Anne. So they're right. So anyway, Vandene is now putting on a show of being mad at them, because they were novices. They should have been doing their lessons instead of doing this. But she's actually impressed. And she's she's keen to follow up on this as well. Everyone had already agreed that the killer must be Aes Sedai. So just to give some background, these two didn't just jump on these three names. We recall that they had to have been Aes Sedai because they were using Crimson Thorn as well, and that's a herb that grows far from the sea, and that eliminated the sea folks as suspects. And even Vandene believes that there are no dark friends among the kin. And I think, based on our experiences during this book series, there's always dark friends. Willie, you can say this, right?
There's no point
and Adelaus
putting a dark friend in the kin because they're not an organization of power. They are purposefully designed to hide and not get caught, living in fear of the Aes Sedai.
Useful skills, being able to hide, not getting caught. I mean, there's powerful dark friends among the beggars. Old Cully was a beggar.
How many Black Archer sisters are there in the tower?
200.
And when did they only start realizing that they're there? I think they can hide well.
Yeah. Well, it's got also a lot to do with the fact that the Aes Sedai wouldn't admit that they exist.
There are dark friends all over the place. And
yes.
I think
know.
I think it is. There is 1,000 people in the kin. Right? There are more kinswomen than there are Aes Sedai.
But they also have that woman that's so well in control of the farm. I forget her name now. The woman that's so much Elise.
Yeah.
Yes. And she'd sniff out anything. She's so on point.
And they're talking about specifically the kinswomen that are traveling with them that would have had the opportunity to kill the two sisters.
Yeah. I think they also all agree that there are no dark friends among the sea folk either. Now, Moritz, now you're saying that are with them. Now I'm like, because I don't believe that amongst the entire race of sea folk there are no dark friends. Yeah. No.
It's even more of them than the kin. By law of averages, there has to be some.
Has to be.
By law of averages. But if you think about this, the circumstances that brought a select group of people along for this, let's call it a ride.
Yeah. That's the out
there's
I'm giving
more
Robert Jordan
influence with the Aes Sedai because they would place themselves purposefully and they've already been there with agendas, as opposed to this lot of women that were at the farm at the time when the Short Chain attacked and the Windfinders when they were using the bowl. So, yeah, it tracks.
All right. It's all tracked. Tracked and noted.
Just a final point on that. Carrie-Anne, who did kill Adelaus and Ispan, was also on the farm with them, has also been traveling around with them the whole time. They're everywhere. I don't know what RJ based that assumption from Elayne on about like there's no dark friends in the kin.
There's no dark friend in the kin because that's my next sentence. Adelaus, even Vandene and Adelaus had discovered from Ispan before she was murdered that the Black Aja knew nothing about the kin. Like Ispan had no idea the kin existed.
Right, and if they they would have known or
infiltrated
used them
them.
somehow, right? Like
Somehow, yeah.
their channelers.
It was a surprise to the Black Aja that they were even around.
Well,
Okay.
since we've opened this can of tuna, do we have dark friends among any wise ones in the hill?
I mean, probably.
I would like to say no, but
I mean, there were dark friends among the maidens. There are Aiel dark friends.
Oh, yeah.
We know that for a fact.
yeah. I mean, that's the woman that wanted to kill Matt, right?
Melinda?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something.
Oh, Miranda. Melinda.
Miranda.
Miranda. Yes, that was her name. Anyway, so yeah, they've by process of elimination arrived at those 3 Aes Sedai. So Vandene's insisting now that someone keep an eye on these 2 before their conclusions get out and they go blathering to other people or speak to them amongst themselves and get overheard because there's spies everywhere. And she suggests that it's Elayne or Nynaeve that have to, carry on, give them some lessons and keep an eye on them. And Elaine's like, no fucking way am I taking care of these 2. Yeah. I am very, very busy, being, queen in waiting and all of that.
Yeah.
Tells her, like, listen, if it's not you and it's not me, it's going to have to be Nynaeve. And speak of the devil, Nynaeve arrives. She's right behind going, it'll have to be Nynaeve what? She's beaming with the afterglow, having overheard only that she'll have to do something. Lan is, of course, there, lurking about in the background. And Nynaeve has now adopted the Melkiri Kassain, which is that red dot on her forehead, marking her as a married woman. Second she heard about it, she was like, I want one of those right now. That's nice. She's taking on her husband's culture and trying to keep it alive after it was destroyed.
It is cool.
Good on you.
It is
good
Melindra,
mood.
by the way, is Matt's.
Melindra. That's right.
Had to get it.
Melinda. So Nynaeve's good mood vanishes once she hears that Christian and Zyria have come up with, and that she has to be the one that has to take over their training and keep an eye on them. But she's also like, no, count me out. I'm also too busy with the kin and the sea folk. And Elaine's like, so the sea folk finally caught you. They cornered you and eventually got Nynaeve as well involved. So she's busy dealing with too many things she can't do, though. So Nynaeve then flexes her Aes Sedai muscles and orders Vandene to do it. I am the strongest here. I am in charge, and you will do it. End of story. And these are not normal novices. You should be taking advantage of them. They like Christian had spent 300 years evading capture by the tower. Like, she could be really useful in this investigation if you put them to use. Like, these are not like 15-year-old girls like normal ones. They're 90 and 300 years old.
Yes.
So, they know some stuff that you probably don't even know.
Christian is actually using her real name. Like, it's been so long that she's been away from the tower that she's using her real name, where Zarya was posing as Garenia.
So Nynaeve orders Vandene to do that and also to go eat something and get some rest. You're not looking great. Vandene says that she is eating, but everything tastes like ash and leaves with the 2 novices. Like, shame Vandene. So with Vandene gone off with the 2 novices, Elayne asks Nynaeve if she knows what Rianne's good news is. But as Nynaeve has been shagging Lan all morning, she knows nothing. This is the first time she's left her rooms. Everyone's carrying on with life. She's enjoying the honeymoon. They both know where to find Rianne, though. She has her little quarters. But Elayne lets Nynaeve lead the way anyway. And on the way, Elayne tells her about the spies. And about Elania and Nayan and all of those people. And Nynaeve is unsurprised by either. She's like, yep, it's only a matter of time until they started capturing nobles, and yeah, of course they're spies. Like, yeah, Nynaeve, all right, fine. Nynaeve also has some good news. She has sent 18 of the kin via gateway deep into Seanchan lands. How's that good news, Nynaeve? She sent them to Altara, Amadisia, and Tarabon to search for the kin that they might have been left behind. Well, were left behind, most definitely. There's some there, and they need to get them out. Which is strange, because Nynaeve had to make the gateway, because none of these 18 were strong enough. So once they find them, how do they get back?
They must mount right back.
Long way with the foot.
Just like, you're deep inside enemy lands. Like,
Godspeed.
all right, fine. Good luck. So anyway, she's like, Elayne's having the same thoughts as we are. She's like, why would you send them like that? And she's like, listen, these 18 were about to run away anyway. Elise and I talked about this. Like, these guys were about to go off and do their own shit anyway, so we might as well give them something to do.
Yeah.
So they talk a bit more about these kin and Egwene's plan to tie them to the tower. Like, how's she going to do it? So that every woman who can channel is connected to the tower. It's going to have to be something amazing. I bet it is. I don't remember what it is, but I bet it is. And they arrive at that small room where Rian is stationed. Inside, they find her leashed to a Suldam named Marley. Elise is there too, Willie. Elise is everywhere. In our absence, Taim had arrived with a gift from Rand of 29 Suldam and 5 Damane. So that's what happened to all of those people they captured in those battles in the Altaran Mountains that we were lost in. So he was capturing all of them, and he sent them with Taim and the Ashaman to go give them to Elayne, because he thought, well, I suppose she would like them. But anyway, there they are.
So this is the gift that Taim was talking about in the prologue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It all becomes clear.
Finally.
And they were given over to the kin. The kin weren't doing anything, and everybody else is super busy. So, yeah, kin, take all these Seanchan channelers. The good news, apparently, is that there has been some progress with the captives. While the Suldam still deny that they can channel or even see the weaves, some of the Damane are ready now to be freed. We get some insight into Elayne's plan for them too. She wants to prove to them that they are also channelers, the Suldam, make sure that all of them know, and then send them back into Seanchan lands to like go and sow chaos and doubt, try and break down the Seanchan culture from within. I was like, that's actually a pretty good plan. Convince them that they are actually channelers and just chuck them back in. You can go now. Goodbye. So before they get into specifics, Rian weaves a privacy ward around Marley and flows of air to bind her to the chair. And she's slow at weaving, but she's precise. Even when Nynaeve is goading her, she's like, anytime now. No need to rush. Yeah. But she doesn't give a. Rian is no longer impressed by Aes Sedai, and less so by Nynaeve. So now they get down into the details about the Damane. And here we have Olivia. She is ready to be uncollared. She says that she wants revenge. She is ready to go. Problem is, can they really trust her? She was collared when she was around 13 or 14 years old, and she's now been a Damane for over 400 years, and is, and I quote, considerably stronger than Nynaeve. Like, I knew she was stronger than Nynaeve from my patchy memories, but I was stunned by the considerably stronger than Nynaeve line.
Like, they make no bones about it.
Not just stronger. She is. So she has been a Damane for 400 years. She's stronger than any one of us here. And what, we're just going to uncollar her and let her run around free inside the palace? She could bring this whole place down on our heads. Lan, yes, he's in the room, pipes up telling them that if they don't uncollar a Damane who wants freedom, then they are just as bad as the Seanchan. Good point, my man. Elise is not pleased that he is talking or even that he's in the bloody room, but he doesn't give a shit. She gives him that Elise stare that Willie knows all too well. And it just water off her ducks back to this man. It's like, I'm married to Nynaeve. That stare is not going to do anything.
I mean, if you've been working as a slave for the same people for 400 years, suppose time for change has come.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I've done this a long time.
It's time to retire.
Time to try something different.
Yeah.
This hasn't gone
Really
well.
good at this. I've gone as high as I can in the hierarchy.
Yeah, slavery.
There's no more promotions left.
3 out of 5 stars.
Not for me.
3.5 at best.
Yeah. So you'd say that, Willie, but like in this conversation as well, there's lots of talk about the others that are not ready, that that are still using their slave names. And two of these Damane were recently captured.
Yes.
When the Seanchan arrived, they didn't come from Seanchan. They were like a noble woman and some other woman, I can't remember.
A wise woman.
Some poor noble woman who manifested the ability to channel on the day the Seanchan arrived in her village. Like, she didn't even know she could channel before that. But they are still like to get petted by them, like as if they're animals. They're fully into it. Like, they're broken. So it is... Maybe it takes 400 years to break that conditioning. But yeah, as we know, they can trust. We know the future. You can trust Olivia.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. She's going to be awesome, in fact.
She becomes like weirdly protective over Rand, doesn't she? Like, she's always the one outside his door and stuff. Like, I remember feeling like somewhat wary of her, but glad that the super powerful chick is like always just like insistent on just like being at Rand's side to protect him.
Awesome. Yes, stay there.
Yeah. Do that.
Elise tells Nynaeve at this point, like, you need to give your warder a good talking to when you're alone. And Nynaeve flushes in her face. She already has plans for when they're alone. Not so much talking. So as this is an Aes Sedai matter, the freedom of Olivia, that is, and Nynaeve is the highest ranking Aes Sedai, the decision to free her is Nynaeve's. And she struggles visibly with this decision. I mean, I think she knows the right thing to do, but everyone's looking at her, man.
Yeah.
All the pressure. But she makes the right choice in the end, opting to free Olivia. Take the Adam off. And this gets a Taishar Manetherin from Lan.
Oh, the
and a
highest
good job
praise.
arm pat. No, I think the good job arm pat from Elise is even more of the higher than that. Bringing tears to Nynaeve's eyes. She's super stoked with herself. Everybody's like, good job, Nynaeve. Good job. You know, she's like, oh, guys. At the table, we turn around. Marley is crying. Rianne tells him that they all cry when made to look at weaves too long. Eventually, they can't admit that they're not seeing them. But as soon as the Aes Sedai stops channeling, they just say, no, it was an Aes Sedai trick that you made me see those things. Like, I never really saw them. So it's going to take a long time. Rianne says it will take time to convince the mistress of the hounds that she is a hound herself. And that's that.
In my book, it says, they'll weep if made to look at waves.
Waves?
Because
Waves
are
is
so beautiful,
amazing.
man.
I was like, wait, hang on. Do they have her looking out the window? Is she looking at the sea? They're in Camelin? There's no sea. What waves is she looking at? But no, it's obviously just a typo.
I also found an error. Is it in the book or the...
Yeah, in my print version.
Kindle. All right, because I found an error. I can't remember what it was. But I'll find it and let you know.
They'll weep if made to look at waves.
Yeah, don't look at the waves.
Anything from you, Willem?
No, just observation around the age and specifically the money that was brought in there, eagerness to be set free. And I was like, 400 years? This is the type of person that you let loose and get on the light. It's the person that's done 400 years of murdering. How long did Elayne do her stint as a Damane? Like a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks.
Look at what it did to her leveling up ability in fighting. So you're going to take this 400 years of experience and not use it? You'd be an idiot. And then she's the strongest channeler in line with the Forsaken. I mean, this is the person that you go bow to and say, you are now in charge. Let me explain the level that you stand at.
Do you think the ladies in this room like bowing to people and saying you are in charge?
Hubris.
Now, I mean, yes, obviously we have the luxury of knowing Olivia's arc and that she can be trusted and that sort of thing. It's going to be hard to trust a Damane that has actively killed your people as part of an invading force that is determined and set on controlling all the land, right? Like, it's going to be, it's a good thing that Nynaeve thinks about it before just acting. But when she makes the choice, it's also decisive, right? She's like, what Lan said is right. We would be no better than the Seanchan, and it's true, and you can't get around that fact. So we have to just, we have to go through with it. And I was really stoked that she came to that conclusion.
The moment they take the collar off, she brings everything down on their heads.
You fools! Compulsion for everybody.
Is there no compulsion? Even,
We don't know.
yeah, because I mean, they're weapons,
No, I think she just
but
rain
they
lightning
always
on
just
everyone.
used as a forceful weapon, not like as a compelling or subterfuge spy weapon.
Mm.
Interesting.
Maybe a blind spot in the Sean Chan training.
Well,
the
they're
demonic training.
one-dimensional.
Because, I mean, we know from Perrin that, like, a lot of novices came to the tower with, like, just little things that they've figured out, like, on the farm, you know, trying to get their dad to buy them dresses and that sort of stuff. So if the Sean Chan with all these, like, controlled and trained channelers had not thought of going that way, then, yeah, big blind spot on their side.
Well, remember, that comes from the freedom of experimentation. They pretty much get collared and put into a regiment of you are a weapon. Okay, you've got this
Yeah,
ability.
creativity goes out the
And
window.
freedom is out the window. So does innovation goes out the window as well. So yes, you can make bombs and blow stuff up, and yes, you can sense rare earth metals. So therefore, that is what we know. That is what you're being taught. And their handlers themselves won't admit to the fact that they can channel themselves. So there's no innovation or creativity there. The Mane is also not going to tell them, hey, I can do this.
Yeah. So the demonic can't channel just out of their own free will without the instruction. That's right. And the Suldam at that point don't know anything about channeling. They think they're just willing their demane into doing it. So they also wouldn't be thinking, what other things can I do with a single flow of spirit? That's
there's no
not just how they
experimentation
think.
out
So
there.
yeah, that would absolutely stifle any kind of innovation.
Also, the innovation that we've seen from our people is that they just watch somebody else and they learn they watch the weaves and they learn them. But if you've been in Seanchan for 400 years and all the weaves are the same around you, there's nothing new coming into Seanchan either. So it's just like a closed loop.
There's some of that. They're certainly fast learners, but they've also had stuff just come to them out of the blue. Nynaeve's healing when she heals the Aiel after being captured by Dark Friends and stuff. That's also out of the blue, you know. Elayne teaches herself the Terangrial stuff, you know, out of nothing, not seeing anyone else do it. So maybe...
No, but I'm referring to the innovation of the Seanchan, like the lack of it.
Yes, because
they can't even learn stuff by accident just by watching someone else.
No, they can't.
Someone else only knows what they know. Like there's no...
And everyone that's channeling is only channeling under command. Nobody is just going, "Ooh, let me try this." It's only like, what do I do? Tell me what to do. And then do that thing. You know, like that's the only channeling that's happening.
Well, they're beaten into submission, like pained into submission. Like, you are a weapon, you're a dog. This is what you'll do. You'll be leashed for 400 years. Yeah. How many handlers did she have? Suldam, how old? Yeah,
probably quite a few.
They don't actively channeling.
They're not channeling Suldam. I'm preempting your thought right there. They don't channel, so they live normal lives. It's the use of the one power that slows the aging.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so she must have gone through...
But I mean,
10? I'm also going,
at least. And all the ones that died in battle?
Very interesting for me. Olivia, now in this arc of her, want to see what she is able to pick up. Like, how big a gateway would she be able to make? Will she be able to pick up healing? Something that they're not taught. Balefire.
Oh, well, teach her balefire.
She can balefire a hell of a lot of people to biscuits then.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Rand does do that. Rand balefires a shit ton of people. He balefires a whole castle at one point.
I love unpicking little... Maybe it's like so well thought out by RJ around the fact that what she learned. Is there a block of 400 years of just repetition? Like, if a child grows up in an environment...
Well, she's probably going to be... She's going to be hungry to learn now. She's probably going to, like, let's see if we read about her, like, actively asking or paying attention or, like, mentioned as noticing someone doing something.
Well, the total opposite, where she's just going to want to please them without a collar around her neck, because for 400 years...
No, that's not what I remember of her. I mean, that might happen. My memory means nothing. But I remember her being quite like, even in her messaging to the girls here is like, I want to get back at the Seanchan. She's almost angry, right? Like she's like, take this collar off me because I'm going to get revenge. So I don't think she's pliable or anything. I think she's eager to learn, eager to serve Rand specifically. And I'm pretty sure that she ends up with some of the Terangrial that Nynaeve and Elayne have found as well. Like, the rings
Yeah.
and the bracelet around her arm and that sort of stuff. I think she actually uses a lot
Okay.
of that stuff.
I'm looking forward to her
Devastating effect.
free arc.
Same. To pay more attention this time. Okay, complete change of topic. Nynaeve playing idly with her braid.
No, that's her thinking about sexy time.
She's calming
She
down.
had sexy time. That's
Her
kind of like
storm
a
is
girl
quietening
twirling her hair. Lan is in the room. She's not tugging
Yep.
at her braid. She's fingering her hair.
Yeah.
She does at one point when she learns that she's the one.
Yeah,
that
then
has to
she'll
look
give it a
after these
touch.
two
Like,
dolls.
oh, fuck.
Yes.
And then she looks over at Rand and lets go.
She looks at Lan.
Lan.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
And she stops. So it's definitely that's making her trying to stop tugging her braid. When she makes the proclamation of what they're going to do, the decision, Elayne thinks Nynaeve was the essence of command, which I thought was awesome. Yes, Nynaeve, let go of your anger, be the essence of command. That's what we need from you. That's her growing, which is great. When Vandene tries to scare the two kinswomen about being quite a harsh teacher, she taught novices once, but the mistress of the novices at the time thought that Vandene was being too tough on them, and that mistress of the novices was Cyril Bagand, who was a notoriously hardcore and tough Amerlin, like one that wasn't particularly strong in channeling, but was just through sheer force of will controlled the tower and was like one of the most successful Amerlins of any time. So these old novices that had run away from the tower know exactly who that is, and they're like, oh my god, Cyril Bagan thought that she was too harsh on her novices, and now she's going to teach us, and it works. And they're sort of like frozen in fear, which is great, because they were all getting all like chuffed with their deductions about who the murder was going to be, and then Vandene just talks them right back down again.
Yeah, take him down a peg or two.
Yes. That's pretty much it. I also had a note, Joan, that I wanted to call out on how clever that plan is of Elayne's to teach the Suldam that they can channel, and then to just send them back into the Seanchan to just go like widen those fissures and sort of crack the base and see if they can topple the whole empire. Good stuff. Okie dokie, let's then head on to our final chapter for the episode, which is chapter 9, called A Cup of Tea. Will, tee us up with a summary, please.
I'm well teed up and ready with a summary. It's unlike me to take the last stint, but lately I've been getting a lot of last stints, but I'll push through. Elayne.
I couldn't tell if you like that or not, and I think I know now.
Elayne has a new maid. Her old lady maid, Asanda, dresses her in fine blue wool, and she spends a great deal of time putting on the few jewels that she has, because there isn't a lot of jewels, because the jewels have been pawned to pay for things. Literally, the word pawned is used. Like, pawnbrokers is a thing over there. She needs to get ready, and she has got a set meeting with Nori with matters of importance, such as the signing of accounts. She enters the room. He is standing ready with his whole notepad at his chest, but she gets a feeling that he doesn't need to refer to the notes at all. The notes are purely there as supporting documentation for any questions that may follow. First big announcement is money has been found in the form of a loom. Is that alloy? Aluminum? I think it must be,
probably.
because it's used in a whole lot of application. But then again, people used mercury as medicine at a stage, so you can't really trust the application of what they're using it for. Either which ways, this is found on her estates, and it is the finest quality of a loom, which is notable because it used to come from a very far place away. Now it's a local resource. And local resources also means income, taxes, the whole lot, because you don't only use it for yourself, you also sell it and you get money. Great excitement around that, but this means that there is mining to be done, and mining is expensive. Therefore, bankers will need to get involved, but bankers will hear profit and profit makes them happy. So we know how bankers think. The good news around the discovery of this Elayne is that she would be able to, with this discovery, fund a whole lot of her endeavors, including the retaining of the academy, which she would like to set up as a legacy for her mom, and break away from Rand. That this is not a Rand thing. This is a Morghese and Andor thing, which is, I'm all in favor for schools being built, especially good schools. Second big news is that the Tower has issued a proclamation that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, and they've got the full support, and what, not. We know the rest of the story. This comes as a bit of a surprise. Elayne wonders if Rand will accept this offer and go and bend the knee there, the lighter. And then she's like, that fool Rand won't bend nothing. He's fat chance Elayne. That's not happening. Third bit of news that I want to say Bulwer every time I think of Nori, because Bulwer and Nori, I think when the two of these guys get together,
they're all similar.
I reckon they'll have a field day, because I think he is a little bit of a master of spies himself. He gets the gossip through the accounts
without even actually realizing it.
Yeah, because the news flows on the back of invoices often. So we'll keep it there. But yes, third bit of news is the Sun Palace was attacked, and not only attacked at the one with the one power, and specifically Rand's quarters, the housing wing where Rand stayed. People believe now after this that Rand went to the White Tower to bend the knee to Elayne, but we know the opinion is people are fickle. Of course, Elayne won't believe that. Nori, man to my word, but like he's a man to Bulwer's liking, I would say it this as well. He wouldn't believe Rand is dead unless he sat with a corpse for 3 days. That's that's a master of spy talks there, isn't it? It's like you really cool get your facts straight before you believe anything.
And you've spoken about dead people before in that context.
No.
About a corpse or...
Yeah, Elayne stands no chance with Rand in that perspective. The worst thought that Elayne gets in this news around the proclamation and the attack is that could this have been one of his own creations, the Ashaman? And then hits the nail on the hammer, or the hammer with the nail. I don't know. One of the two hit each other.
It's the nail on the head.
There we go. There's a hammer, nail, and a head.
We get it.
And she gets it in the right order.
She says that's worst case scenario, worse than if it was the Forsaken. Like, who could it be? The Forsaken? Oh, as long as it's not one of his own
it's
creations.
Kind of two of them, because the Forsaken is involved, as we know, but she doesn't. But yes. Other news. News travels slowly. Some of it comes by frozen pigeons, but some of it comes by the road, the old school. Here's 5 marks. Take this letter, drop it off at the Tower Guard in Camelin, and some people will take the money and just, use the letter as toilet paper. It's like, free toilet. I got paid to get some toilet paper. But sometimes, and with this, Elayne thinks like, I'm really going to have to establish a Royal Mail. And I'm like, yes. You really need that. It's like,
finally someone heard us.
Yes.
News from Tyr, a whole lot more sea folk, ships, rumors of battles in Elayne, and recovery after a great battle. The Queen of Kandor is missing. So there's a whole lot of not accounting work that Nori has been lifting there. There's news from Lugard, a mounting fierce army there by Rodrin, asking Nori on his advice around the news. do nothing. No, this is news, and as well as you can filter through it, there's no action to be taken. Like, you don't get a piece of information and then all of a sudden mount an army. You take it easy. So that is surprisingly good advice from Bulwer number 2. Isn't nori also the word for the seaweed that they roll sushi in?
Yes.
That's Nori, I think, not Norry.
But I wrote it Nori in my book because
You must have been hungry.
I'm hungry right now.
Well, that
Now,
explains
Nori
it.
is surprised at Elayne's level of knowledge in her reasoning around things, which we know Elayne is a sharp cookie. We've said it many times. News from Perrin is that there is a great number of people that is supporting her claim to the throne, and also that they would support it, even if they need to come lend a hand, type of thing. But this is a bit dodgy because there's been wars in the past between the two, so she's not leaning too heavily on that side. She issues instructions to Alden Mate Nori to have letters prepared to send to every major house in Karian around her intention to visit without an army and just to raise support. Because essentially the idea is for Rand to hand her both. Well, Rand can't hand her Andor, but Rand can hand her the Sun Clone. So if that is the intention, she needs to start winning over favor with the nobility there. She's reminded that she's got some invoices to sign, which is the drab part of the business meeting. And Nori is very much reminded and mentions that Elayne reminds him very much of Morghese, in her opinion, deceased mom, which is very much alive. Nori leaves the room, business concluded, news and spy mastery stuff done. Three mates enters with some trays and there's some eats, and boy oh boy, it's gone from eating dried meat and crap on the road to having a selection of mutton with vegetables, soups, pies, tarts, cakes, and of course hot tea is served. She likes her favorite thing that she likes all the time, clear broth with bread. And I'm like, well, that's peasant food. You're not a peasant, but her 3 comfortably padded maids tells her that she needs to eat and gets a little bit more flavor on her bones because she's looking too skinny. But she's still.
Is this? Sorry, Phil. Is this RJ telling us that, like, does she have an eating disorder? Like, is she eating insubstantial food to be skinny?
I didn't read it like that. I mean,
because neither did I originally. I just thought about that now. But, like, why is she choosing broth and bread over, like, these delicious dishes? Because we know she has a sweet tooth as well.
Cakes. I don't know.
Sweets, according to Avienda, gobbles them up by the handful.
But yes, maybe she's just aware that now she's in the palace, this food is going to be here anytime she wants it. So you better control yourself, because when you're on the road, you can have a sweet and a cake every now and then, because you never know when the next one's coming.
I'm going to throw a massive bone here. The bone that was in that.
We're about to say the same thing. You say it.
Is that she's very aware
bone broth
of the funds of her campaign.
Yes.
Number 2, people in her kingdom is starving, and she's made a great point around handing people money. So you walk in the shoes of the people that you serve, therefore you serve them better. We in real world reflect all the time on politicians making decisions for poor people on the ground that do not live the life that they live. And here's Elayne, a queen, making a decision and eating bread and broth for lunch. So that is my
I'm
I
gonna
want to
go
go
with
with
that,
that.
Paul.
That's because that is her character for me.
My original read was that she was sort of like so high on the adventure life, out of the palace, out in the world, going on adventures. This is what adventurers eat on the road. Like that's what I thought she was sort of getting.
Ah.
This is what she's used to eating when she's off, camping next to a wagon on the way from Tenjiko to Amadisia. But I like this explanation because I'm pretty sure in the earlier chapter where she's also in the street, doesn't she think about like the
Yes.
shortage of food when she's talking about the hams and with Nori with all the reports on the foods and I think the fires were specifically off food stores and stuff. So I think you're right. I think she is super conscious of it and is maybe like literally just going, I'll let someone else eat that. Like I'll have this. This is all I need. Let that be distributed among whoever needs food.
Let them eat cake.
Literally, the cake has to be eaten.
One time they can actually.
Yes.
It would also ring true into what the maids, because what we learn now as well is that a lot of these people that working in the palace, apart from the new recruits and guards and all of that, are the staff that work there during Morgase and a downfall with Gabriel. So they would go, okay, cool, new royalties in the house, just bring what the last one wanted. You'll probably hit the mark something, so bring everything.
Maybe. Yes, that was probably the standard mode of operation. Like for every meal, bring everything.
Like,
and then let them pick out what they want.
Yeah. So I'm definitely not thinking anything other than responsible governance.
I like that.
That's it. Elayne is responsible governance.
Yeah.
And we're going to see this develop, as we say. There's a lot of Elayne in this book. Now, where was I? Yes, she decided to dive into bread and broth. Dylan enters the room, and there's now discussions around a very, very large army that is mounting in the Bremwood. And we're talking an army of tens of thousands. Elayne thinks about offering Dylan some tea, but there's only one mug, so she thinks, okay, cool, too much of a hassle. I'll just pour myself some more lovely mint tea. Dylan then thinks, okay, cool, is this Rand that sent them? There's a possibility of that, the things, but she's getting tired and a little bit sleepy, like kind of like me, and like Friday, yawning while she's talking. And then she thinks, oh, the cool minty taste. Minty. Bells ring. And then she spills the tea. Too late. The tea's laced with forkrooted. Dum dum dum. And she yells out that I have been poisoned. To not have more explanation needing to come out from this. With a deep thought of help me, Bagheeta. That will carry across the bond. Dylan then goes all murder alarm. She goes off like a real alarm. Also pulls a knife and gets ready for it. A part of Elayne thinks at that time, is it Dylan that's done this, pulling a knife right now? But that is quelled quite soon when three men enter the room pulling long knives out of their cloaks or pants or wherever they keep their long knives. And murder happens, but Dylan fights and loses her life in the battle with these men and trying to defend Elayne. Elayne draws a dagger, but she's now falling to her knees, grabbing at the table. There's not much that she can do. The blue-eyed man had finished off Dylan and steps to Elayne quite warily, and she thinks, okay, cool, this is it. But then all of a sudden a foot of steel stabs out his front and he keels over. And she can't help but think that that's going to leave a stain on the carpet. Carpets are expensive, you know. There's not a lot of money in the coffers of the crown at the moment.
You got to sell that carpet.
You can't sell it.
Now you can't sell it.
You got to sell the carpet and buy the peasants some food.
Right. Dylan isn't breathing. This is a sad moment because Dylan was actually honorable. The three assassins 1 down, 2 left, battle ensuing, 2 down, 1 left, battle ensuing, and darkness for Elayne. And that's where we leave this episode on a cliffhanger. End.
Now,
when you said a foot of steel appears, I'm like, a foot of steel. And I'm like, this picture of a steel foot in my brain. I'm like, what the fuck is Willie on about? It's like,
I quoted the book, A Foot of
mind.
Steel.
Yeah.
you sure
Yeah,
did.
okay.
Now, you did leave us with a bit of a cliffhanger there, but I'm going to save myself a callback and just say that Dylan makes it.
Come on, man. Leave the
She doesn't die.
I haven't read it.
Dylan wasn't breathing. So we need to, like...
I can tell you. I can tell you who those 3 people were and who killed them as well, and how that was.
Yes.
If anybody else wants to go into
You
that,
carrying
deep
on like this is
speculation.
a spoiler cast. We should build up the anticipation next time on Blurb and Ashes.
No, this is a spoiler cast. Get used to spoilers, dude. This is the spoiler town. This is obviously where Vandene shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she sees what is it, an axe-faced man or something like that? A man with a face like an axe.
No, that's referred to one
which
of
is a
the
description.
assassins. He was a man with a face like an axe.
David Hanlon is described more than once
really?
as a man. with a
My
face like an
question
axe.
after I
Yeah.
read that statement is like, what does an axe face man look like? Because it's like, is his face go out like broad, like he's got a big chin and a big forehead?
I think just like harsh and angular, maybe like a tall bridge,
Johnny Bravo.
large shark fin nose,
Is it a hatchet faced?
both. I mean, hatchet is an axe, isn't?
Yeah, there's
type
many
of
types
axe.
of axes. I mean, does he have a ponytail for the back of the spike that's on the other side of the axe? I have so many questions about an axe-faced man.
Since we're talking about these assailants, this is where I learned a new English word or expression, Jody. Tow-headed or toe-headed. One of the assailants is described as toe-headed, means with messy blonde hair.
Sure.
Okay.
Why not just say that? I went into Google to look for hatchet faced. It's the 3rd most searched thing in Google. Someone who is hatchet faced has a thin, hard, and unpleasant face.
Okay.
That's it.
I mean, that also describes a hatchet accurately. So thin, hard, and
Well, it's
unpleasant.
unpleasant when it hits you in the leg or the face. It's not unpleasant
aptly
when
named.
it's used as...
Or the hand when
Yeah.
you're chopping firewood.
Indeed.
Okay. What other notes here, Joe? It's mostly Norrie, right?
Yeah, well, it's Nori and the last 3 dark friends that were set up to die. Is my theory. I don't know, but I would imagine that the 3 murderers were set up as dark friends to attack Elayne so that David Hanlon could come in
100%.
and kill them and be a hero.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Vandene has to get close to Elayne, and this is the ruse that they've
I'm a
orchestrated.
hero. I saved your life.
And he rides that for ages. And I remember, I've mentioned this before, like I really dislike this period because there's also a period in which Elayne has to sort of not quell the rumors about a romantic relationship between them as well.
Yeah.
And that's really shit. So yeah, I'm really, really
Lot of
not
shit
excited
going.
to see this hatchet-faced man. Elayne is still in her riding dress. Like, there's 3 chapters of this book dedicated to just her being in the street, arriving in the stable, walking up to this room. And that's 3 chapters of book 9 of The Wheel of Time. It's just that little short passage of time.
No. She got redressed by a maid Asanda in the beginning. Yes,
Oh,
she
her
got me
maid
to
did
find
redress her,
blue
that's right.
woolens for this meeting.
Oh.
And with pearls, and she got, and it's the last of the
Yes.
jewels. And
But she was, the notes I made about her still being in her riding clothes is the first thing in the chapter. So this chapter starts
there's
with
a change.
that, and
Yes,
then
you're
she
right.
gets, and she gets changed. Yes, but I mean, it is all still like straight on top of each other. I always thought of Nori as small. I think of Bulwer as small, and I always thought of Nori as a diminutive. But
Tall,
he's super
skinny,
tall.
big
He's a
nose,
really tall,
man.
skinny guy. Looks like a
He,
heron. Yeah, tufts of hair sticking out on the sides like a heron.
yes, that's what I wanted to say. She is reminded of a heron when looking at him, and I'm loving that we're getting to bird analogies again. It's been missing for a while.
It's been a while, yes.
A
The
heron-faced
heron-faced
man.
man.
It's confirmed by Dylan almost immediately afterwards, but when Nori's mentioning all the Borderlander rulers being missing in action, it's from what we read at the beginning of Path of Daggers, those guys coming south, finally now arriving. And then Rodran assembling an army to bully the other lords in Mirande is where the band is. The band of the Red Hand is being employed by Rodran as mercenaries. And then Elayne refers to them, she says, I know those people, that's just a bunch of Dragonsworn. Because you know how the Aes Sedai also refer to the band as Dragonsworn, because they're basically an army for the dragon, but not affiliated with any country or king. But I was wondering, is that how Elayne sees them? Or is she sort of continuing this ruse that has been set up at... Remember, it's Saladar already when Elayne and Nynaeve left from there. The band was there, and they were being set up as this sort of force to follow on from them and to sort of just be this group that is unaffiliated.
I most definitely feel that she's continuing the ruse, and I want to see a distinction between dragon sworn, one word, and dragon -sworn, second word. I don't know how we're going to appoint them to have a distinction between the mad stink filth of Messina.
Because here it's printed one word,
same
right?
word,
it's the same as the Messima Dragonsworn.
Yeah,
which sucks. But I want to...
Look, I would love to... Yeah,
exactly.
I want to believe that's what she's doing, but I wouldn't be surprised if she...
No, she was privy to all of that.
She and Matt had a real bonding moment when they sort of apologized to each other and stuff. So I also want to generally believe that she will keep true to that and actually know what their value is.
She doesn't know that Matt's not with them anymore.
No, she doesn't know that.
Wouldn't.
But what I do know about Elayne is that she makes two judgment errors in all of these chapters. One, being reckless in not accepting the advice around being guarded in her now future queen role. And two, not having someone taste her tea. She definitely get a food taste now that she's a queen. They know about this now. It's at this point in time.
They know what it tastes like.
But everything else, her meetings with Nori, her whole understanding, her empathy to the people, her knowing what I need to do, I need to get money, I need to pay things, all of that. Elayne has not wavered from that, and something that has been very strong in her character all along. It's that's not gone at all. Look, RJ has set up this sort of doubtful, maybe she's a queen now and she's slipping into the power struggle and life around her doesn't matter anymore or anything like that. But that's just a ruse to set up this whole Hanlon getting into the mix storyline. She is solid as a rock, as a ruler, and as a leader. I wouldn't even... I think she is playing the field, knowing who is where, but not...
Yeah. Except for one other misjudgment that she's made. When she's been forkrooted, she thinks, Dylan, you did it. You sneaky wench. As Dylan pulls out her knife to defend her, she thinks, it was you. I knew it was you. No, Elayne, back off, Dylan. She's cool. She's on your side.
No, but also at that moment, she is under the forkrooted trance already. Spell.
No.
Because she loses her sort of train of thought in thinking things, as it starts taking effect. I'm still going to give her the benefit of the doubt.
I want Elayne to have someone around her all the time that she can trust, not just a big eater or a Nynaeve, but
Dylan.
someone political that's like helping her manage these houses, who we know is Dylan. But Elayne suspects her of poisoning her and like pulling it out. Like she doesn't, every time she's in an interaction with Dylan, she has some kind of thought about like, did she say that because I'm like paving my own way, or actually the way for her to take
She
it?
has been raised to think like that due to Daesdaimar. And we said, look out for the effects of Daesdaimar in this stretch. This is the effects of it, where you cannot even trust someone that has pure intention because
proven themselves.
Because it's been so many times proven over that this is just one more way that you play the game. Like, she's at sort of, I'm pointing to the lower level. She's not at the Carinian level of Daesdaimar yet there. Someone says, here's toilet paper,
she's learning.
Go for a shit. They're like, oh, fuck, is the toilet paper? Do I need a shit? Do they want me to have a shit? Is there a bomb in the toilet?
Where's this coming from? Oh, man. Look, these 3 chapters are sort of, I mean, it's a pretty wild mix of pretty much everything we're going to get about Elayne for the next 2 or 3 books, right? Like for this book and book 10, maybe some of 11.
Yeah.
All the politics, the David Hanlon threat, the Black Arger and Milliskane in Camelin, the politics with other houses, Nayan and Elayne being freed by Aramilla, is it? Aramilla, the Queen Killer? What was my way of remembering her name?
You're asking the wrong people.
It's supposed to be your way. I don't know.
But like, all of these things are touched on in these 3 chapters, and those are all the themes that we're going to deal with Elayne for books now. So I feel like this is sort of like the intro to this is your life now. Strap in.
Yeah. I thought that same thought when I started reading about her focusing on Nayan and Elayne being kidnapped, and I was like, oh shit, who are these people now? Now like these names are gonna be popping up. I've got to try and keep track of all these nobles and all these alliances and
yeah, it's Aramilla, who is the
Queen Killer.
That's how I'm supposed to try and remember Aramilla's name. She's the one that kills the people guarding Nayan and Elayne. She takes both of them captive herself. She forces their armed forces to join her own, and they launch a siege on Camelin. So Nayan and Elayne are still pivotal, even though we never see them. They're just always off page, but their influence is pivotal. Shoo. Okay. So, anything else?
Yeah, I think we squeezed that lemon dry.
We hit the hammer on the butt.
So, all right. So, did you guys remember to pick your favorite moments out of all that great stuff? How could you choose?
I didn't. But I thought of one while we were recording.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I always pick a favorite moment because I'm a good homework boy.
Okay. Good man. All right, Joe, I always make Billy go first. What was yours, Jody?
Nynaeve getting praise for her decision. The Taisha Manetherin and the pat on the arm and her being so proud.
Son of a bitch.
You shouldn't have let me go first. It's your own fault.
Word for word almost. Taisha Manetherin for Nynaeve.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very cool. And not just because of the cool compliment from Lan, but how just proud I am of Nynaeve for reaching the right decision, and like and not taking it lightly, like really thinking it through, but then going for the right thing. And and then Elaine's description of her being as the essence of command, which is just like a cool picture of Nynaeve, not this quibbling, petty, prickly thing, but like this powerful, decisive.
It's amazing what a bit of sexy time can do for a
knows
person.
What's up. Oh, thanks, Lan. Making all our lives easier, yeah. Okay, Phil.
I am all for the dry, dreary, and drab. Nori is my man. He's another baller.
Okay.
He rolls
Nori.
the news
Okay.
into one, like a nori roll,
Yes.
and does the business. I love it. I'm
That's a good
Yeah, it's
callback.
like I really enjoying the influence of information flow in this world where information flow and knowledge is a difficult thing. And I praise anyone that's able to pick through the shit that comes through it all and build together. Like, okay, cool. This is important for a queen to know. We've got Bulwer
Yeah.
who did it for the White Cloaks and now doing it for Perrin. It's like these people play such a crucial part in the decision making of the protagonists in the story, um, that
They do.
again, it highlights how important accurate information is in making good decisions.
Yeah. Plus, Nori has going for him the fact that we're clearly meant to like him. The fact that he compares Elayne to Morghese makes you feel like he was a fan of Morghese, and he means this as a compliment, which is great. So if he was loyal to her, which obviously you read through his actions since her departure, plus the fact that he did do that, right? Like he ran the country when Morghese was sort of under the influence and eventually left, and they were left
Carried
without
on
leaders.
doing
He
his
just
thing.
kept doing the right thing and running things. The books are probably in as good a position as they could be, with him just basically not having to ask anyone for permission to do the right thing according to him, right? So if he and Bulwer are both master of spies and secretary, I think Nori leans more secretary
Bulwer more spying.
and less master of spies, and Bulwer's more master of spies posing as a secretary. But yeah, cool how the information is gathered.
But it's amazing how those two roles are very much they cross each other continuously, and you're doing the one job for the information that comes via the job, or you're doing the job to get the financial flow of things, but with it comes the information. It's like a double-edged
Yes.
sword, really.
It's often when you see how the money is flowing.
Follow
So
the
Nori is
money.
like he's in all the accounts and stuff, maybe even more so than Bulwer is, but so he can see the money trails and stuff. So yeah, he probably is privy to stuff that only someone with that kind of skill would know.
Which is amazing. I mean, the depth of, and again, we always talk about like, okay, cool. What makes a good story? What having these characters in here, and when it's someone's like, oh yeah, I read the Wheel of Time. How great is Rand? And how great's I love Nynaeve. I love Egwene. Like it,
Yes.
and no one goes like, fucking baller. He's the man. Alwyn
Alwyn
Norrie.
Norrie.
He's the man.
What's Bulwer's first name again? Seban Bulwer. Yeah, legends. Cool. Okay, so to our listeners, send us your favorite moments, your theories, your ponderings, or just say hi. You can reach us via X at Blood and Ash Pod or any of the social media links in the episode description. Just click on them. Our website, bloodandashespodcast.com, will lead you to our t-shirt store and let you leave messages, as well as even leaving a voice message that we can play on the show. And finally, if you are able, please rate and review the podcast on your favorite podcast app. When you've done all of that, you can prepare for next time on Blood and Ashes, where we will do chapter 10 through chapter 11.
Huh? Fucking with you.
2 chapters.
Don't believe in people.
2 chapters, chapter 10 and 11, one each.
Very long.
Are they really long chapters?
They're both over 30 pages, yeah. On average, we're around 20, 22 pages is an average chapter, Joe. And because I know you read on the Kindle, so you don't have like an idea of how many pages is anything. But yeah, short chapters are like 12, 13 pages. These are 33 each, I think.
Meaty ones.
Beefy.
Because the average, I know them in minutes because of the Kindle. So it's like these 4 chapters were all around 30 minutes.
Right.
29, 33. Let me see what the Kindle says about these next ones.
10 and 11.
A plan succeeds. That one, yeah? 51 minutes.
There we go. And chapter
It's
11.
almost an hour to read.
See, I believe the reading
Chapter
time
11,
of Audible,
49.
an hour and 2 minutes
These.
for Plan to
Around 50
Succeed,
minutes.
and an hour and 52 seconds for Ideas of Importance. Those are 2 hefty chapters.
So, yeah. Okay, so
Righto.
only one chapter for you each. But until we get to those chapters, I will say to you, sleep well and wake.
Bathe
the
in the
light.
dark.
Amazing.